Right.
encourages that sort of thinking and behavior
Joe.
and rewards it publicly.
Right. Go ahead. What does that sign say on the back, Joe?
You know, true Christianity, you know, not subverted fucking giant arena Christianity where the guy's flying private jets and has Rolls Royces and
imagine
shit.
doing that.
But actual, like, real Christian
Like the guest
people,
you have.
Well, the Romans had gods. I mean, their virtues had gods.
Yeah.
Right? And so they like it was actually
The god of crypto scams was one of them. Kryptonia, the god of crypto scams. Kryptonia, Rugpolacious is another one I thought of. FTXiphus, the god of doing all kind of little bullshit. The god of going like this. The god of letting people know that
I could say anti-Semitic things.
That's the weird thing about fascism, right? Because fascism, by definition, is almost always applied to right-wing totalitarian governments. But it's really kind of just adherence to the state and enforcing a doctrine and forcing people to think and behave a very which is what the left wing does. And then you talk about like being pro-war. Well, who's more pro-war right now?
Left. Joe has all these good episodes of his podcast where it's like some guy who like ate a baboon's heart or something. They talk about that for 2.8 hours. I like that. I like that version of the Joe show. But then you watch this and you're just like, what the hell exactly is this? What is this Joe show? But yeah, I don't know. Joe's really pissed off about all this left-wing fascism. I don't know. I'm guessing he's talking about like he couldn't go to the Comedy Store in 2020. Like that's what I'm guessing. Or people who tell him to shut the hell up on Joe Rogan's subreddit, I guess. But he's talking to a guy who's like friends in the government right now, you know, want to get rid of a very popular agency in what looks like an effort to make them more money. Yep. You know, makes me wonder if there was a guy in like 1920s Italy, you know, probably my great-grandfather, listening to whatever the Italian 1920s version of the Joe Rogan experience was, you know, like the Pepe Antonioni Experienza. You know, and there's some guy on there who's like, man, these left-wingers, they're out of control. We need to get this guy in here who's going to crush all them and get rid of anything like rights and more money for the normal people. You know, this Italian guy, probably my grandfather's listening to this 1920s Italian Joe Rogan podcast. He's like, that sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. I don't know. Then Joe goes into this whole anti-war thing. Get Jamie to pull this up. The hell does this say from Inc? As war rages in Ukraine and Gaza, venture capitalists see a boon in defense startups. New entrants could potentially disrupt the military contracting business, which has long been dominated by big corporations. Why Andreessen Horowitz wants in? Oh, that's that guy. That's your big guest, Joe.
Generally speaking.
Stop. So there we go, the Joe Show.
That Joe Show flow, though.
It's too bad because I really do want to see Joe go back to the old Joe, where it's some guy, some weirdo who's like, I went out into the jungle and I saw a ghost or whatever. Those are the good Joes. Some guy who's like, I take 25 supplements every 2 hours. It's got me all like this. Yeah, it's got me all like this. All these supplements I take make me think that
I could say anti-Semitic things.
So hopefully Joe will at some point stop having kooks on and get more interesting kooks. Kooks who are trying to do this, boom, 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 to normal people a little bit less would be nice.
Ooh, wait a second. Oh, it's Wednesday.
Whatever. But I hope you guys are doing good. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, my name's LeDron James. That's my name. And I can say anti-Semitic things too. Just going back, guy. Anyway, hey, check this out. Hey, peep this. Peep this bomb about I'm about to drop right out here. Guys, you're only getting some of the shows every week, but if you want every single show, every single week, oh my God, the shows you're missing, it's dangerous. I'm just going to go ahead and say it could allegedly be dangerous for you to miss these shows. Not to try to use some kind of scare tactics, all this kind of crap, Patrick Bet David kind of crap, sales crap, but you and your family, maybe, notice the keyword there's maybe, in danger not seeing these episodes. But if you want to get these other episodes every single week, Tuesday, Thursday episodes, and patron-only live streams, subscribe on Patreon. I love saying it like that. When you could take that again. Subscribe on Patreon. For as little as $2 just absolutely minuscule, insignificant, putrid dollars per month. Subscribe now, support the show, support my lifestyle that I've grown accustomed to. Drinking, acting like an idiot. Anyway, guys, Talk to you later. LeDron James. Bye.
I think Cedar's a grifter.
He may have issues with me personally. That's fine. I don't care at all.
I mean, have you pulled a Reuben, as some people suggest?
So I feel like it's come to a point where we now have a lot more clarity about the TYT situation, specifically their right-wing pivot. And I now know where this disconnect is specifically coming from between them and us. And I debated about whether or not to even talk about this again, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to rehash drama. But in my mind, this isn't just about drama any longer. To TYT, they view this as a competition to maintain hegemony in this space, because Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian presumably feel as if they've been usurped in some ways by the likes of Hassan Piker, as well as Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland. And they kind of have. I mean, Majority Report is just a better, more principled version of TYT, and more people are coming to that same realization, and Cenk is taking notice. He's jealous, I think, that Majority Report is eating his lunch, because he's always viewed TYT as the champion of the progressive left on YouTube, and he still wants ownership over this space, but he's starting to lose it, and he's mad about that. And he's especially mad that he's losing dominance to people in particular that he probably views as inferior. Now, I don't know what's in his mind, but this is the way it comes across to me. I mean, Majority Report, they used to be part of TYT's network. I was also part of TYT network. So in some ways, I think that Cenk feels like we owe him our success, even though we don't. We built platforms and then joined TYT network because we were popular. But regardless, you know, he thinks that we shouldn't challenge his political orthodoxy, because we should be paying him fealty and thanking him because he feels responsible for our success. Or at a minimum, you know, he feels like we should be thankful that he created a model that we replicate today. He walked so we can run, in other words, but we're not giving him what he believes is owed to him. Now, to be clear, I don't view other people in this space as competition like Cenk views us as competition. I think that a win for David Dole is a win for me. When Lance of the Serfs gets 10,000 new subscribers, that's a win for me too, because we're not competitors in my mind. We're colleagues who are working towards the same goal, and a win for one of us is a win for all of us. Cenk, however, I don't think he views this space in that way. Maybe he did, but he certainly doesn't now. To him, this is a competition, and he wants TYT to come out on top. He wants to carry the mantle of the online left forever, and he wants to set the agenda and establish the parameters that the rest of us have to abide by. But I mean, I reject that mentality. Others in this space do too. And to him, he views this as a sort of rebellion against him. And in response, he's melted down repeatedly and tried to reassert himself as the true leader of this space, while insisting that we should all bow down to him because his ego is bruised and he can't tolerate people calling him out for his dogshit takes. So I guess what I'm ultimately getting to is what's happening here is three things. We're seeing hubris, a politics of self-grievance, and mixed messaging from the network. And that's what's creating this disconnect between them and us. And over the course of this video, I'm going to demonstrate that case to you. So first and foremost, let's talk about the mixed messages, because that is the lowest common denominator that's driving all of this drama, if you want to call it that, because TYT, they brand themselves as only progressives, yet repeatedly they undermine that branding with centrist and even right-wing counter messaging. And when people call it out and they say, hey, that's not very progressive, he'll respond by dismissing their criticism and reasserting himself as the true arbiter of truth on the left, but he never actually addresses the substance of our claims, and he refuses to reconcile the mixed messaging that we're all seeing. For example, when Anna Kasparian went on Jillian Michaels' show, the thumbnail plays up her right-wing pivot and asks if she's leaving the left, and it even says, you know, why I left the left in a quote. Now, when she went on Piers Morgan, look at the way that he introduced her as well.
Anna Kasparian left the left. Let's find out. She joins me now. Anna, welcome to your uncensored debut.
Yeah, But to be fair, Anna can't control the thumbnails and the framing on other people's channels. But I mean, these shows are playing up that narrative for a reason. And while she's lead into it more than Cenk, he's continuing to deny it and feigns outrage whenever he's called out for it. But Cenk has at times leaned into it, and he's played footsie with the right, but he still wants to maintain dominance over the leftist space when he's very clearly moving away from that. For example, he tweeted, "I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I was so against the guy that won. I know now, MAGA is not my mortal enemy, and neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated." Sure, because the electoral victory of a billionaire fascist who's stacking his cabinet full of neocons and other billionaires is certainly evidence that the establishment has been defeated. Cool. But I mean, if we call that out and say, hey, that's pretty fucking stupid, we're just drama farming, or we're too dumb to understand the 40 chess moves that he's making to trick the right into giving us the policies that we want. But I'm sorry, not a lot of lefties are going to endorse that weird, narcissistic, and self-serving strategy that he's pursuing currently. And if you're going to purport to represent the true left, as you say you do, people are going to object to these kinds of things if they feel like it reflects poorly on them. I'm not the one who's claiming that I represent the entire left. You are. So if you're going to claim to have a monopoly on truth and strategic wisdom in this space, people are going to push back on you when they say things that they feel is not representative of the left, when they feel like you're a bad example of what a leftist is or should be. I mean, even if, though, we were perfectly ideologically aligned, I'll admit, I still wouldn't want Cenk to represent the left because, quite frankly, he comes off as unhinged and unserious. I mean, he had a vanity presidential run to hawk his fucking book. That's embarrassing. And I think that other people better represent our collective values. But with that being said, nobody is trying to claim ownership of this space like Cenk does. Sam Seder, I view as the true leader of the online left, but he's not saying he's the one true leftist. He allows disagreements and pushback. But I mean, if Sam Seder were to push back and criticize Cenk, Cenk would take that as evidence, not that, you know, he's putting forward this good faith criticism, but instead as evidence that he's trying to replace Cenk as the new de facto leader of this space when it's really not that deep. If Sam Seder criticizes Cenk, if I criticize Cenk, I'm just disagreeing. And I'm trying to get you to see my point of view because I think that you have a big platform and you can use it more effectively. But I mean, Cenk doesn't see it that way, and it's a problem. And throughout Cenk's stream with Hassan, which was incredibly long, you know, he tried to claim ownership again and again of this leftist space, but he doesn't realize that TYT has lost the credibility that they once had by repeatedly shifting to the right and shitting on the left and playing footsie with fascists. Case in point.
I watched your conversation with Matt Walsh today. I thought it was a good conversation. I haven't seen that film at all, but I mean, he touches on something that's very real.
I watched your conversations with Ben Shapiro, and you inspired me to have that conversation with Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
How dare you accuse us of shifting to the right? I mean, I'm only complimenting a self-proclaimed theocratic fascist for touching on a very real issue ignored by the left, but I'm not going right-wing, ooh-ooh. It's just so fucking disingenuous. And they think that we're stupid and naive and can't see what's happening, that we can't see what's already happened before multiple times on this same network. And just for shits and giggles, look at how she responded when Piers Morgan asked her if she's now doing what she criticized Dave Rubin of doing. And her answer, I think, was very illuminating.
This is what you said when Dave Rubin pivoted. Let's have a look.
There has been this prevalence of prominent figures who identify as the left, right, or on the left, who then later start to, you know, cozy up to right-wing figures, and then it turns out that they completely move to the right wing because they're essentially paid to do it. They're used as tools by the right wing to essentially spew right-wing talking points while purporting to still be on the left. In fact, Dave Rubin's a great example of that. Dave Rubin used to work with us. He identified as someone on the left.
So, I mean, have you pulled a Rubin, as some people suggest?
I mean, I'm still pretty left-wing, and I'm still working at the exact same place. Look, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about Dave Rubin, but I just felt that he, first of all, after he left TYT, he did lie about us, and that bothered me because we were still friends, and I didn't understand what was going on.
And that, my friends, is where we get the politics of self-grievance. It's on full display because she's inadvertently admitting that she never really took issue with Dave Rubin's right-wing grift because what he was espousing was dangerous. The real problem to her was that she felt like her friend had betrayed her. And the more that she talks over a length of time, like going on different shows, the more it becomes abundantly clear that her pivot in part is fueled by personal grievance. There's a viral clip making the rounds on Twitter of her talking about how her entire opinion of Trump supporters changed because of this one Trump supporting neighbor that she talked to, Jeff. He was nice to her. And that's so weird. I find this worldview very bizarre because, I mean, I have family members who voted for Donald Trump. I've never been in a leftist or liberal echo chamber or bubble. You know, my MAGA family members, they're ostensibly nice if you talk to them, but just don't ask them about their views on immigrants or trans people because then they're not going to sound so nice. You know, maybe Anna can put aside those issues because she's not an immigrant or she's not trans. I mean, I know that her family is immigrants, but she herself is not at risk of deportation. So maybe she can put that aside. But for a lot of us, that disagreement is fundamental to who we are as human beings. So we can't put it aside. But in her mind, the left right now is being mean to her, while a right-winger and many right-wingers are being nice to her. Therefore, her worldview must have been flawed. And I'm obviously making an assumption that this is how she's operating, at least on a subconscious level, when I don't know for sure. But I mean, this politics of personal grievance is bad if it is what she's doing, because it is inevitably how you become a reactionary. Because rather than looking at the macro, you base your entire worldview on personal anecdotes, which is going to fail you. And this isn't unique to TYT or Anna Kasparian. They're not the first to do this. A lot of people have this view. It's why I always have been overly nice and apologetic to friends and family, to the point where I kind of became a doormat, because basically every single person in my real life who I know, I am the only gay person that they've ever known. So their interaction with me could shape their perception of all gay people. And that horrifies me, because I don't want to represent an entire group of people. I'm just one member of a very large community that is not a monolith. And I don't want someone's entire worldview to be colored by this one interaction that they have with me, where maybe I'm an asshole or I lose my temper, because I'm not perfect. And that responsibility that I felt I had, it ate away at me for most of my life, until I realized I can't live that way. You know, I can't base my own self-worth on other people's personal grievances, right? I'm one person, and if somebody starts to hate gay people because I was mean to them, or I forgot to say bless you after they sneezed or some shit, that's their problem. That's not my problem. But Cenk and Anna have presumably shifted away their focus to their own personal grievances and not on the actual policy and the data themselves. The left thinks that they're, you know, too right-wing on crime. So what do? They become mad and they lean into that despite the left and prove them wrong, because they can never admit that they're wrong. You know, if the left says that they're not supportive enough of trans people, what do? Well, they get mad and they lean into that too until they're validated and we're invalidated. It's how they've been operating for the past year or so. It's an immature way to view the world, but I mean, it's presumably what's driving them. And I don't know, again, for sure what's in their hearts and in their minds, but they kind of admit a lot that personal grievances is what's driving their behavior. You know, the right has been nice to them lately and the left has been mean to them. So they go on right-wing shows and avoid the leftist mafia and Sam Cedar like the plague. That's what it looks like to me. So, I mean, it could be wrong, but that's what a lot of us are kind of seeing. And on the topic of personal grievances, when Anna made her birthing person tweet, she privately told me that she felt like she was being publicly bashed by people like myself and presumably others in this space who she considered friends. In other words, it wasn't what we said, it was where we said it. Even though we were respectful, the fact that we disagreed publicly with her, it felt like a betrayal. And in response, she felt compelled to double down, so that way her friends who she felt like betrayed her wouldn't win, so she would be proven right. Now, she was asked about that birthing person tweet on Piers Morgan, and she did downplay the hatred she received. That's her word. It's an interesting choice of words to use when we were all very respectful, if you go back and watch the videos that we did about this. But regardless, she goes on to comment about trans rights and ultimately sends another mixed message.
I also got blowback when you posted, "I'm a woman." Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus or a person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this shit. And I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I did not expect that tweet to go as viral as it did. I didn't expect the kind of hatred I got in response to it. But look, that's okay. It's fine, right? I'm a public figure, and whether I like it or not, I signed up for any type of, harassment, abuse, whatever that you get online as a result of stating your opinions. Look, the main point I want to make about the transgender community is that these are human beings, okay? They deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. And when it comes to any issue that has a real impact on their lives, housing, employment, all of that, there should be protection for this community, and we should respect the fact that they're human beings.
Now, if she just stopped talking right there, I think that maybe she actually learned from that whole birthing person kerfuffle, but she didn't stop. She kept talking and proved that we were all right to call her out because she was indeed going down a turf path, as many of us suspected. We tried to intervene to stop that, but we've arrived at this point now.
At the same time, there are some issues that arise where the rights of one group, in this case, the transgender community, kind of conflicts with the rights of another group, the rights of women. And what I think is important is that we actually have a real dialogue, a civil dialogue, about how we move forward in a way where both parties feel that they're being treated fairly and with dignity.
So she's just A.K. Rowling at this point. We have officially arrived in turf territory where she is portraying trans rights as antithetical to women's rights in some areas. She's viewing this as a zero-sum game. If trans women have rights and are welcomed into women's spaces as they should be, to her, that's a net loss for cis women. And she's not specific here, but if you watch her video that she did about Sarah McBride and Nancy Mace, she talks about how dehumanizing it was for Nancy Mace to try to police the bathroom usage of the one trans lawmaker. But in one part of the video towards the end, she drops a little turf comment about how, it does get a little bit more tricky when we're talking about locker rooms.
Look, I want to be specific in noting that I do not have a problem at all with transgender people using the restrooms, the bathrooms that they identify with. The other single-sex facilities like locker rooms, I think, does get a little tricky.
She just drops that in there as she's trying to be an ally to trans people. She had to bring that up as if trans people are the predators who pose a threat to women when they are disproportionately vulnerable to sexual abuse themselves. But this right here is the future we all saw when we made that birthing person response to her, or when we responded to her birthing person tweet, I should say. And as her friends, we tried to stop her from going down this path, but apparently it was already too late. And I guess we also underestimated how open she would be to criticism because she does not like fucking being criticized. So we're seeing this collision of grievance politics and mixed messaging, where she'll aesthetically present herself as a trans ally, then substantively say something that is objectively transphobic, but since she rejects our claim that she's being anti-trans, it activates the politics of grievances, where she'll then try to double down and further insulate herself in the right-wing bubble who's going to validate her turf concerns. And this is the cycle that's becoming more clear. I didn't spot it at first, but now it's much more clear after we've been seeing this again and again for the past year or so. And it's not just Anna, because on Hassan's Thanksgiving stream, Cenk Uygur sent the same mixed message about trans people, where he presented himself as a warrior for trans rights, but the caveat was that they don't get to be as equal as their cis peers. But if we reject that, that activates another cycle of grievance politics. So let's watch.
The reason I make a distinction between high school and professional sports is because in high school, what you're saying is, like Ohio, if I really want to institute this, even though it affects almost no trans or cis girls, if in the world, in Ohio as it is, but if I go to implement it, now I got to check everybody's genitals, and there's got to be a genital checker, right? And let me guess, tons of Republican older men are going to volunteer to check the genitals of our high school kids. And I hate it. I don't want it. It's like a groomer pervert factory. And they're going to probably put Jim Jordan in charge of it. No, okay? But when you get to the professional level, you get to the Olympic level, you guys make a giant mistake. You fall right into their trap. And you go, oh, yeah, sure, they should be able to compete. When the overwhelming majority of the American people do not agree with you, You should let the Olympics and the professional sports decide it on their own. It is.
Yeah, Matt, you're right. There's a lot of stuff that should have came sooner. We should have released this game sooner, man. I don't know. So many games released broken. And like XDefiant wasn't even close to being broken. But still, they wanted it to be... Still wanted it to be perfect. You know? And it should have released right after the beta. Yeah, I think so too. What a bummer, man. Just about to get to 200. Who gives a fuck?
Is not a constitutional right. They have no so-called right to participate in the WNBA. I don't have a right to participate in the NBA. So, number one, I don't agree when you go to those extremes. And number two, does it affect elections? Well, we had an overwhelming answer to that in the Trump-Harris contest.
So in his mind, he's being perfectly reasonable, and he starts by making an argument that we all agree with, but he ends by making a transphobic argument that we don't agree with. And since he started with the pro-trans argument, since he led with that, he thinks it's outrageous to condemn the thing that he said that we don't agree with. But I'm sorry, you don't get to control what we're allowed to agree or disagree with, nor do you get to dictate what trans people should and shouldn't accept when it comes to their own humanity. And the argument that he uses is fallacious because, you know, nobody is saying that there's a right to be in the WNBA. I don't know a single person who said that, right? Nor is trans sports the focus of trans activism, broadly speaking. But switch the group for a moment. Let's just say that I was rejected from the NBA because I'm gay. Would Cenk then say, oh, well, too bad, boo-hoo, you don't have a right to participate in the NBA? My guess is that he probably wouldn't say that because it's discrimination. If the basis of my rejection is sexual orientation alone, that is discrimination. It's not about whether or not I have a right to be in the NBA. It's about whether or not my inclusion or...
Yeah, like if they would have like shadow dropped during that Ludwig event like forever ago when MW2 was stinking up the fucking place. It'd be high rocking.
Exclusion hinges on my sexual orientation. Now just replace gay with trans and you see the problem. People shouldn't have less opportunities simply because they're trans. I mean, he's making a similar argument that conservatives used to make against gay marriage, where they'd say something like, you know, gay people technically aren't being discriminated against because we all have the same rights. For example, I, as a straight man, cannot marry a man. Therefore, since gay men also can't marry men, then we have the same rights. Makes sense, right? It comes from a place of deliberate ignorance and denies the immutability of...
And the fact that they're going to take this map away from us, fuck you, Ubisoft.
Sexual orientation and gender identity. You can choose to not act on it, but you can never turn it off, right? You can choose to LARP as a straight man and marry a woman, but that doesn't change the fact that you're still gay. A trans person who never transitions is still trans because it is innate. But me making this counter-argument would be seen as an attack by Cenk since he prefaced his anti-trans statement with the pro-trans one. And one thing that he did throughout the entirety of that conversation with Hassan was bring up how he's the real left and we're all the fake left because his positions are popular and ours are unpopular. But first of all, I don't base my worldview on what is and isn't popular. I base it on what's right. Populism can be useful electorally, but it's not the basis of my ideology, and nobody should base their ideology on what's popular. Second of all, if we have a position that's unpopular, it is our job as political commentators to make those positions popular. If we preemptively capitulate to every policy that might be unpopular, or we adopt positions based on how we think the Republican Party will respond, we would never have any progress on any issue ever. As a gay man, I was born unpopular, baby. I'd have no rights today if my predecessors were too afraid to be bold, but thankfully they were bold. Stonewall was a literal riot. Gay rights activists shoved pies in the faces of bigots. They never ceded ground on civil unions or gay adoption. They rightfully demanded full equality. These were not popular positions at the time, but do you want to know what they did? They made them popular. I mean, Medicare for All was unpopular until Bernie Sanders ran for president and made it popular. But to be clear, we should boast about the popularity of our positions if the policies we're supporting are popular. But if they're not popular, we shouldn't run away from them, especially if we're political commentators, because, you know, then we're just setting ourselves up to be audience-captured fucking drones who just repeat what we think our audiences want to hear. When I'm making videos, I don't focus group test or poll test whatever the fuck I say. I just say what I believe, and if people disagree, then I defend my position, and if I think that they're making a good counter-argument, then I'll adjust. Now, Jang would probably view what I'm saying as me being overly self-righteous or accuse me of engaging in purity politics, but I can't help the way that he perceives good faith criticism, and he might think that we're all making bad faith criticism and we're grifting, but it is good faith criticism. But no matter how hard we try to steelman him and be fair in our criticism and respectful, any response always sets up another cycle of grievance politics with a good dose of hubris as well, which was on full display during his stream with Hassan.
You are hyper-focusing on people that are in your replies on Twitter, and because that's all you...
That radical left
because all you interact...
Stupid dumbasses. Do you agree?
There are a million people that are both in your replies that have also gotten mad at me as well, time and time again, on specific...
I hate Cenk Uygur almost as much as I hate Ubisoft. Eat my dick, Ubisoft. Eat my dick, Cenk. You fucking transphobic piece of fuck.
Specific issues, maybe ones that even pertain to trans rights. It literally doesn't matter. People get very passionate, understanding. I'm very understanding.
In agreement. I agree.
I understand.
Online. That's what I said from day one.
I know, but why the f would you ever hyper focus on people like that?
No. So you might know. You're doing. Hold on.
You're doing the Bill Maher thing. You're demanding that there be sisters.
Bullshit.
You're doing the Sister Soldier moment.
No bullshit.
No, you're trying to...
So the minute we said the most reasonable things on earth, which you now agree with apparently, then what happened? It wasn't just the 13 douchebags online. And by the way, everybody
fuck you to 13 douchebags then, bitch. You should put 13 douchebags up your ass.
You're not on the left anymore because 13 douchebags control the left. And then what happened next? Then Majority Report jumped in, and Lance from the Serbs, and all the other little dirtbags jumped in, and they were like, the 13 douchebags are right. We need to protect
dirtbags. I only see one dirtbag in the left.
Even in China, nothing to do with China.
You gotta stop.
They're Nazis.
You gotta, okay.
I mean, I'm 100% right. Every dirtbag show did it. Every dirtbag show did it. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is reframing an issue that is, now we've moved away from the electoral consequences of a trans ad to your own personal anger and frustration that you have with left-wing media online. We are
so do you agree left-wing media online? Those guys that I listed are full of shit.
I have
and in a tiny, stupid minority.
I have disagreements with everyone in this space, but there's a reason why, seemingly, I don't catch the same amount of strays that you do because I don't hyper-focus.
I can tell you why.
I don't hyper-focus. What do you think it is?
They think you're hot, young. I don't mean attractive. God bless on that, okay? I'm also obviously hot.
Not hot.
I mean, as in they think, oh, young people want...
You're an ugly bitch. Fuck you.
Hassan, he's cool. And you give the thing of like, oh, no, trans people are right on everything, right?
Okay,
you
old man.
Come out and make the distinctions that Anna and I made. Okay, so they think, oh, no, he's good.
You sound like a grandpa. Fuck off.
Yay, extremeness.
I think the reason, first of all, you're...
Okay, by the way, Majority Report and all of you guys, you better attack them. He apparently agrees with you, okay? You better attack him.
I don't...
You're not going to attack him, are you?
You're
They're not idiots like you.
Crush them. Just let them fester and people pretend that they're the real left. No, we don't do that. You're going to say stupid shit and you're going to try to punch us in the face. We're going to punch you back, not on our behalf. on behalf of Democratic voters who you are lying about. The Democratic voters do not agree with you. They agree with us. So day for you, and I'm not going to let you lie and pretend the Democratic voters are on your side, because you're a fucking liar, and they're not on your side. You agree that the Democratic voters are on my side.
I don't care what the Democratic voters are on, or whichever side they're on right now. We've lost the plot. We completely lost the plot, because now the conversation is about, like, the serfs or majority report, and I think that's a completely utterly unproductive conversation to have.
Your strategy is when grifters on the left attack you, whether it's Ruben, I think Cedar's a grifter.
Fuck you, Chang. You're a grifter,
So
bitch.
now all of a sudden you're defending Cedar. When he calls me a grifter, you don't defend.
First of all, I've never heard him call you a grifter.
He's called me every name in the book.
Okay.
He's a low-rent grifter.
Stop. And that right there is what it always comes back to for Jankinano. Personal grievances again and again. And also, he has to be right about everything. And he not only has to be right about everything, everyone else has to affirm how right he is again and again, as evidenced by the fact that he kept trying to get Hassan to validate his positions. And you'll notice that he's responding to us, pointing out the mixed messaging that he's sending about their right-wing pivot, but he never actually engages with the critiques that we're making. Rather, he'll strawman what we're saying or accuse us of calling him a Nazi when I have no idea who's doing that, or if anyone has actually called him a Nazi. If that's the case, I disagree. But I mean, this is where the hubris comes in. He thinks that he's too good to engage with our critiques because he's right and we're wrong and we're beneath him. It's why he refused offers from us to talk about these issues on air or even behind the scenes. Because why should he engage with people who are inferior to him when he's already determined that he's right about everything and we're wrong about everything? And listen, I watched about 3 hours of that 3.5-hour stream, and it's clear that Cenk Uygur is just a centrist. I'm sorry. He might not want to admit that, but he's against affirmative action. He's selective on trans rights, moderate on abortion, cruel on homelessness, quite frankly, and he's center-right on crime. And I think that he's been able to kind of pass as a progressive all these years because he never really focused on those things and downplayed those elements of his ideology. But I mean, the reason why he's getting more pushback now is because he's leaning into the more conservative views that he claims he's always had, right? And he's using his platform to raise the salience of these issues, on issues like crime. And that is benefiting the right. He's engaging with these issues in a right-wing way. He's giving credence to the claims that the right is making. And as he does all...
I don't know if anyone's watching right now. I've been raging Ubisoft all day. And I'm banned on Threads. So I've been doing it on... I'm banned on Twitter. So I've been doing it on Threads, which doesn't seem impact, but morning through night, since last night, I've been nonstop. Fucking hate Ubisoft. Seriously. Ball droppers. They don't know what they got here because they're fucking horrible and stupid. Beyond stupid. Brain dead. Fucking bad business people. Eat a shithole. Eat my entire asshole. Soft.
This in front of our faces, he gaslights us at the same time and claims that he's the true leftist because the fake left pretends like crime doesn't exist, but he's a real left.
I'm gonna rage watch XDefiant videos like maybe like Neuro Cinema put something out. Yeah, here it is. You got something to say?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to XDefiant. One of my final XDefiant videos here in the channel, unfortunately, because the game is being shut down. This news came out literally 10 minutes ago. XDefiant is done. They are sunsetting the game. It's going to get one more update where they add all the Season 3 content, and then on June 3rd, it's going to shut down forever. Mark Rubin took to Twitter to let us know about this. Hello, XDefiant fans. I am unfortunately here today to announce that XDefiant will be shutting down. Starting today, December 3rd, 2024, new downloads and player registrations will no longer be available. We will still release our Season 3 content in the near future, exact date to be determined, and the servers will remain active until June 3rd, 2025. For those who purchase the Ultimate Founders Pack, you'll receive a full refund. The players who made any purchases within the last 30 days will also be fully refunded. Those refunds should happen automatically within 8 days of today, and you can find more details on our official website, XDefiant.com. Wow, I can't believe I'm actually reading this. Like, I knew XDefiant wasn't doing well. It hasn't been doing well for a long time with the launch of Black Ops 6. A lot of people were focused on that, but I eventually planned on going back to XDefiant after more updates came out. The biggest thing for me when it came to that game was it was built on such amazing ideals, and unfortunately, those ideals did not succeed, which is really bad, I think, for the games industry. I think we lost a great competitor in the shooter market because their entire mantra was no skill-based matchmaking, it was free-to-play, fast-paced arcade gameplay with transparent communication and open dialogue between the developer and the community. The foundation of XDefiant was incredible, but as we all know, the real problems with the game stemmed from the fact that there was nothing really to do in the game. It was too bare bones despite the fact that it was delayed and delayed and delayed. We needed some form of progression within XDefiant. We had no prestige mode, there were no challenges, there were no real rewards. There was a battle pass that you could get every season, but other than that, there was nothing really to grind for in the game. I don't think you can survive at this day and age on good gameplay alone. There needs to be robust progression paths and things for players to look forward to, and they started to add those mastery camos, but they were so grindy. Even someone like me who played the game more than most, I'm in the top 5% in the world for pretty much everything with the XDefiant. I played the game more than most. Even for me, it's just like there's not enough to do here, and these camo grinds are just painfully long. They take absolutely forever, and it just was not fun using one gun over and over and over. It didn't matter how well I did, it still just took forever, and there's no other form of progression in the game. And not to compare the game too much to COD, but look at what's happening with Black Ops 6. Despite skill-based matchmaking, despite the terrible servers, despite the randomness of the XP that changes based on your game mode and the map, people are still playing the game a ton because of the Dark Matter camo grind. Not because it takes forever, but because it's actually pretty engaging. The same is true of the Nebula camo grind and the whatever the name of camo is in Warzone. People love grinding that stuff. On top of that, you have the battle pass. On top of that, you have prestige mode. You have all the different prestige rewards. And it's not fair to compare XDefiant to COD because XDefiant was a free-to-play game that was made by a much smaller team and everything, and Call of Duty's been out for 20 years, but the point still stands. There's a lot to grind for in COD, and I think that's why people play it more so than just for the gameplay. I think people like the actual progression that the game has, and that's an area where XDefiant really lacked. Going back to Mark Rubin's post here, a few years ago, Ubisoft and the San Francisco dev team embarked on a bold adventure to develop a new arcade shooter called XDefiant. It was from the start an incredible challenge. Not only were we trying to shake up the genre by removing skill-based matchmaking while bringing back a more old-school arcade shooter experience, but we were also diving into the high-risk, high-reward realm of free-to-play. And for that, I want to applaud not only the dev team, but also Ubisoft leadership for taking that chance. Free-to-play in particular is a long journey. Many free-to-play games take a long time to find their footing and become profitable. It's a long journey that Ubisoft and the teams working on the game were prepared to make until very recently. But unfortunately, the journey became too much to sensibly continue. I am, of course, heartbroken to have to be writing this post. Yes, this was a game that's been a personal passion for me for years, and yes, I know that not all challenges lead to victory, but I also want to recognize all of the developers who have been affected by this closure. Each and every one of them is a real person with a real life separate from our own, and they have all put so much of their own passion into making this game, and I hope that they can be proud of what they did achieve. I know I will always be proud and grateful to have worked with such a great team, a team that really punched above its weight class, and what they did achieve was truly remarkable. The early response from players when XDefiant launched was amazing. We broke internal records for the fastest game to surpass 5 million users, and in the end had over 15 million players play our game. That is something to be extremely proud of, especially considering how tough this genre is, so thank you to all the developers who put their passion into making this game. If there's one thing I hope we can take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest, communication between developers and players. This player-first mentality, along with respectful, non-toxic conversations between developers and players, has been one of the standout differences that made XDefiant so special. From my very first post about XDefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion, and I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the games industry treats its players and communities. To our players, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible community that has grown around XDefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication have inspired us every step of the way. With the utmost love and respect, Mark Rubin, man, ladies and gentlemen, the guy who tried to go against every other game out there and build something with no skill-based matchmaking, something that would take us back to the old school days of the shooter genre where things were just about your own gun skill and working with your team, no manipulation in the background or anything like that, just fast-paced gameplay on beautiful maps with open and honest communication from the development team. It was such a great premise, it really was, and to this day, XDefiant is still incredibly fun to play. It's one of those games I think we're really gonna miss, and in retrospect, people are gonna look back years from now and wish that the game actually stuck around longer because of all the positive things that it stood for. Mark did say in that post right there that they had 15 million total players play their game, which is pretty crazy considering the size and the scope of XDefiant. I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. They had a crazy launch. They broke all sorts of internal Ubisoft records for the amount of people playing the game at launch. Like, the game had every opportunity in the world to be successful, right? They had so many people jump on it right away, but ultimately I think it comes down to the lack of progression in the game. The gameplay itself was fantastic. Now, I remember so many people not liking the game when it first came out. And a lot of it really just came down to a skill issue, which was like the craziest part about it. Like, you can say what you want about the different character abilities and whatnot and the factions. That's one thing. But I'll tell you guys what, there's very few people out there that are going 40-5, 40-10 every single match and saying, oh man, this game's terrible, you know? When people hopped on XDefiant, it was a crazy situation because so many of them were so conditioned by other games out there, including the Call of Duty franchise, and people were exposed pretty quickly for the actual kind of FPS player that they were. If you did not do well in XDefiant, it's because you just weren't good at the game, which is one of those things I love so much about it. A game with no skill-based matchmaking and very little aim assist. If you're not doing good, it's because you're not that good of a player. You know, it exposed a lot of people, and I think it hurt a lot of egos, to be honest, and that worries me because the Call of Duty franchise obviously is so hell-bent on skill-based matchmaking, and everybody is just basically stuck in their own skill bracket. And when we have a game come out that's kind of a competitor to COD, but not really, it's like in a different genre almost. I mean, it's a shooter game, but it's a hero shooter essentially. When you have a game like that come out, and and it doesn't succeed, it kind of furthers this narrative that skill-based matchmaking is good for the player base, which is something I so firmly believe is not the case. I think skill-based matchmaking is one of the worst plagues in gaming history. Like supply drops, loot boxes, that shit was awesome compared to skill-based matchmaking. You know, this is like by far the worst thing to happen to the Call of Duty franchise. So to see XDefiant fail is a bit disheartening for me. I was hoping this would be the kind of game that, you know, I never thought it'd blow up or anything. It was never going to be the COD killer. I don't know where this whole idea of a mantra for the COD killer would be. I suppose it comes down to this, and it's a little inside baseball here, but YouTube, that's what it
Holy shit, I was fucking muted. God damn it. Eat a dick. Oh, this fucker.
comes down to. If you're a Call of Duty YouTuber and you want to talk about a different game, you always have to somehow tie it to COD for your Call of Duty audience. That's why when most people would make XDefiant videos, it was like, the COD killer? Is this game better than COD? Like, you couldn't hear XDefiant without Call of Duty being in the same sentence, essentially, which I think is where people got this idea that they thought...
I don't give a fuck if this game could kill COD, man. It's better. It's cleaner. It feels better. It's a clean game. COD feels like a fucking mess. It takes them like a whole life cycle to fix their issues.
It was supposed to be the COD killer. It's a free-to-play hero shooter by Ubisoft. It was never meant to be the COD killer. You know, it's just going to be another side game, another alternative. And I had hoped that this game would be around for years and years, and we could watch the evolution of it and have it be one of those games where when you really invested yourself into it in the early stages of the game's life cycle, that you would be heavily rewarded for that later on in the game's life cycle. Picture something like Fortnite, for example. You know, some of the stuff that you had from like the OG Season 1 and Season 2.
Fucking Fortnite's still around, dude. Who plays Fortnite? Do kids still play Fortnite? Holy shit, how long has Fortnite been around? And like, they survive. Fuck you, Ubisoft. You are the worst. You don't know how to make video games. You fucking hang it up. Hang it up, Ubisoft. Ubisoft is your boobs. You're a bunch of boobs. Fuck off.
Some of the skins you got back then and some of the things you were able to experience back then are some of the most heralded and coveted items within Fortnite now. You know, if you were around for like the OG days and you're still playing today, like if somebody sees one of those original skins popping up in their lobbies, you know, you stand out. It's really cool, you know, and I was hoping that XDefiant would end up being one of those games where, you know, 2 years from now, we're still playing XDefiant. We have all these maps, we have all these guns, all these progression paths, all these different things to go for and things to do, and it all matters. It's similar to how we had carried forward here in the COD franchise, you know? That's one of the things I don't like about the current setup of COD is, you know, at the end of Black Ops 6, if there is no carryover, then Dark Matter just goes away. I mean, you can always go back and play, but when you play the new game, everything you did previously doesn't count anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. XDefiant was setting itself up to be a game where the things you do now matter 3 years from now, you know, and I like that idea. And I like the core gameplay as well. The core gameplay is some of the best I've ever played when it comes to an online shooter. It was always fun. It was always enjoyable, but ultimately there was just not enough to keep people playing long term. And while there are certain people out there who have been playing quite a bit and really grinding the game and everything, there just wasn't enough wide range appeal to keep the lights on for the XDefiant team. I personally talked
Keep
to
the
a lot
lights
of
on.
people that worked
How
on
about
this game, and they're wonderful people.
You know what?
They really are.
Chop from the top.
To have this project that
You
you've been
fucking
working on for years and
overpaid
years and years
fucking
being shut
assholes who
down. Now
decided
you
to
move
shut
on
the
a
shit
different
down.
project or maybe a different
Take a
studio.
pay
Like,
cut
it's a
because
real
you suck.
time of uncertainty
You're
the people that
losers.
worked so hard on this
Rich
game, and here we are
losers
in
who don't know
December,
how to
and
do
Christmas is coming
anything
around,
because you're
people are
rich and
losing
you're
their jobs.
moronic.
Like, that's freaking terrible. That's
Fuck off.
horrible. And I hope that they can get invested into a new project and land on their feet and be passionate about something else and put all of their amazing skills into a new game, into a new project, and continue creating.
You mean Call of Duty? Hey, Activision, you make me wish I owned Call of Duty stock. You really do. Because you know who's really winning here? Not you, motherfuckers. You're losing. You are losers. Activision Call of Duty, W. Big win. With a game that in many ways is better than Call of Duty. I don't give a fuck if you don't like, oh, it's not making as much. No game makes as much money as Call of Duty. No game makes as much money as Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a goddamn juggernaut. And it has no competition. You were the only competition. Fuck you.
Because what we saw in XDefiant was fantastic. It just fell short in certain categories, and I think it was a big learning experience for a lot of the people that worked on the game. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for this video here today. Kind of a somber one overall, but yeah, XDefiant is shutting down, and I know a lot of you guys actually found me through XDefiant. A lot of you guys obviously knew me from the COD stuff, but I did see a major uptick in subscribers here in the channel when XDefiant was first coming out. People wanted to hear about XDefiant, they wanted to see the updates, the news, and all that stuff happening, and I'm happy I was able to provide that to you guys. But unfortunately, the game is no longer downloadable. You cannot make a new account for XDefiant or anything like that, and the Season 3 stuff will be coming out relatively soon. I should probably do a video checking that stuff out, kind of seeing what they had planned, what they were going to be doing. But ultimately, the game is going to be shutting down in about 6 months' time, and nobody else is able to join the game. Basically, the people who already have the game can play it for the next 6 months, and then it's gone forever, and that's pretty damn sad. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this video. Leave your thoughts.
Oh my god, even if this is like marketing, like they're trying to like, and like, oh, okay, maybe I'll keep it going. Too late, asshole. Fuck you, Ubisoft. Too late. You can keep this game going. I will never buy an Ubisoft game again because you're trash. This was a mistake. You deserve to fail on every level. Fuck you, Ubisoft. I can't believe I hate you more than Activision. Blows my goddamn.
Thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.
A day is fuck, Nero. Thanks. Brutal.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I have an impromptu video because there was just an announcement about 30 minutes ago that I honestly was not expecting to see, but XDefiant is going to be shutting down. I think there's a lot to say about this, so I just want to have a conversation, but first, let's look at the official post. XDefiant says, "Dear players,"
I want to throw a comment on Nero Cinemas video.
I think Cedar's a grifter.
He may have issues.
Okay, Sorry, I think I was muted. So this is dog shit. COD will have no reason to listen to the community now. F you, Ubisoft. Eat a mountain of dicks. Thank you.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Waiting to see, but XDefiant is going to be shutting down. I think there's a lot to say about this, so I just want to have a conversation. But first, let's look at the official post. XDefiant says, "Dear players, important message. XDefiant is sunsetting. Thank you for your incredible support and dedication to XDefiant. We regret
the worst sunset I've ever seen in my life. I usually love sunsets. This one sucks dick.
To inform you that we are initiating the sunset process starting today, December 3rd, 2024. As a result, new downloads, player registrations, and purchases will no longer be available. Season 3 will still launch, and the servers will remain active, and the
fuck Season 3, bitch. Why even release it? Why don't you shut the goddamn game down now? Just shut it down. Fuck you. Literally the worst gaming company on the fucking planet, Ubisoft. Fuck you. Fuck Far Cry. Fuck all your Tom Clancy dog shit can eat a fucking giant pile of assholes. Fuck Watch Dogs. Fuck Assassin's Creed. Fuck all your dog shit fucking IPs because they're fucking none of them are as good as XDefiant, you idiots. None of them. I'm sorry. I'm never playing any of your shit ever again. I played Far Cry games. Done. My dick, Far Cry. Never again. The last one was dog shit.
game will be fully playable until June 3rd, 2025.
Seriously, Ubisoft.
For those who purchase the Ultimate Founders Pack, you will receive a full refund. Players who made any purchases in the last 30
I don't want any kind of refund. I want this game. So why don't you fuck yourself?
30 days will also be fully refunded. Please note that processing these refunds will take up to 8 weeks. For more details, please visit xdefiant.com. So before we take a look at Mark Rubin's personal message, I just want to say very quickly, basically with his personal message, I don't think that this was his decision. I don't think that this was the XDefiant team's decision. I think that they were actually told to shut things down.
Hell no, this wasn't.
Because when the
this was not Mark's decision. He was talking year 2 content not that long ago. Year 2. We didn't even make it through year 1. Fuck Ubisoft. You're a terrible company and you should burn in wherever you can.
Around October,
eat a dick.
Mark and
no. Eat all the dicks. Eat every dick on the planet, Ubisoft. Fuck you.
Team were very, very adamant that they were not going to be shutting down. They were not shutting down after season 4. In fact, the latest tweet that I saw.
Look at this tweet. To be crystal clear, there are no plans to shut down season 4.
Was on October 15th of them saying we are not shutting down. I don't think that this is a decision that Mark wanted to make. I think it was more, above.
So this was unplanned.
Essentially, the people at Ubisoft were probably just like, yeah, we're done with this, so let's shut it down. Let's take a look at what Mark said. He said, "Hello, XDefiant fans. I am unfortunately here today to announce that XDefiant will be shutting down." He basically goes through and talks about the stuff that we already discussed, the shutdown date and the refunds for the Ultimate Founders Pack. He then goes on with a personal message that says, "A few years ago, Ubisoft and the San Francisco dev team embarked on a bold adventure to develop a new arcade shooter called XDefiant. It was from the start an incredible challenge. Not only were we trying to shake up the genre by removing skill-based matchmaking while bringing back a more old-school arcade shooter experience, but we were also diving into that high-risk, high-reward realm of free-to-play, and for that, I wanted to applaud not only the dev team, but also the Ubisoft leadership for taking the chance. Free-to-play in particular is a long journey. Many free-to-play games take a long time to find their footing and become profitable.
Yeah, so why are you stopping? Sensible? Too much is sensibly? This is nonsensical? Fuck off.
The journey.
Mark Rubin, fucking fight for us, dude.
That Ubisoft and the teams working on the game were prepared to make until very recently, but unfortunately the journey became too much to sensibly continue. I am, of course, heartbroken.
Ubisoft has millionaires. They have millions of dollars. They're doing this because they can't make a stinking fucking dollar off it. And they would if they stick to it. But they're They're just awful, inept, fucking terrible game developers. And should just fucking just quit. Ubisoft, shut it down. Go to fucking hell. Fucking no one wants your stupid fucking games anymore. This is it. Dunzo. Fucking fuck you. You fucking fuck this game, you can go fuck yourself. This game, fuck you. I've never been so pissed off at a game developer in my life. And I've been playing fucking video games all my life, and I'm old as shit. So fuck you, Ubisoft. Fuck you.
Broken to have to be writing this post. Yes, this game has been a personal passion for me for years, and yes, I know that not all challenges lead to victory, but I also want to recognize all the developers who are being affected by this closure. Each and every one of them is a real person with a real life separate from our own, and they have all put so much of their own passion in making this game. And I hope that they can be proud of what they did achieve. I know that I will always be proud and grateful to have worked with such a great team. A team that really punched above its weight class.
I'm not proud of shit. I'm mad at Ubisoft, period. And I hope Ubisoft burns to the fucking ground.
And what they achieved is truly remarkable. The early response from players when XDefiant launched was amazing. We broke internal records for fastest game to surpass 5 million users, and in the end, we had over 15 million players play our game. That is something to be extremely proud of, especially considering how tough this genre is. So thank you to all the developers who put their passion in making this game. If there's one thing I hope we can all take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest communication between developers and players. This player-first mentality...
All this shit's just depressing to hear. It's just depressing to hear. Just fuck off. Why don't you just say, hey, we're done. Ubisoft sucks. Bye-bye. Instead of like this whole heartfelt shit. Because guess what? It doesn't change anything. Pat yourself on the back all fucking day. This game does not deserve the fucking dog shit it got from this fucking terrible company. And COD is, you know what, and anyone who's watching this, who is like fucking nobody, if, you know, COD's gonna be worse because of this. COD got better after the beta. They really wanted to make COD a dog shit game for fucking the most casual, terrible players possible. They wanted to do that. That was Modern Warfare 2. It was shockingly bad. I went into Modern Warfare 2 after Cold War. It was like, oh my god, you can't slide in this game. You'll die. Sliding is out. That's the first thing I learned in Modern Warfare 2. Stop sliding, because you'll die. Here's the slide in Modern Warfare 2. I'm still in it, by the way. And I died because I was still in a slide and couldn't shoot. Fuck MW2. God damn it. Infinity Ward? I'm not playing the next Infinity Ward game. Infinity Ward can eat my shit. Because their games are fucking crap. I played Modern Warfare 2019. I thought that was really good. Everyone hated the maps. And you know what? I wasn't so extreme on that, but yeah, the maps were kind of shit. And MW2 2022, unforgivably terrible. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And this is the reason why I wanted to play XDefiant. And because like I was like, oh, this game sucks. Like they could really use some competition. Like, cause like then we can see like what do the players actually want? What kind of movement do they want? You know, what kind of features do they want? And like this game was set up to be able to like challenge Call of Duty in that area. Like Call of Duty has crap movement. Well, we got better movement. People are playing our game now. Like, it's Coke and Pepsi, man. They're both doing fine. Why can't this be fucking Pepsi to Call of Duty's fucking Coke? This is dog shit. Got nothing to play now. Just, you're Ubisoft. Just like pushing every player to Call of Duty who likes 6v6 shooters, because guess what? That's all there is. I'm not gonna go play the fucking finals. I don't know what the fucking finals are. Everyone's talking about Delta Force. Never heard of it. I think it's a third-person shooter, which I fucking hate. Third-person shooters can eat my dick hole. Fucking fuck you, Ubisoft. This is all we got. And you fucked us because you're a bunch of fat cat and bloodthirsty bitches. And you should all be fucking just thrown into the fucking street.
Along with respectful, non-toxic conversations between developers and players have been one of the standout experiences that made XDefiant so special. For my very first post about XDefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion, and I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the game industry treats its players and communities. To our players, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I want to express my deepest gratitude for all the incredible community that has grown around XDefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication have inspired us every step of the way. With the utmost love and respect, Mark. Just to tack on to the situation with the developers, it said that there's about 277 employees being let go because of the closures that we're seeing. I think there's also going to be some employees moving from the XDefiant team to other projects from Ubisoft, but Ubisoft has not had too many good game releases over the...
Surprise, surprise. Guess what? They're never going to have a good one again. This is it. They fucked themselves. Hey, Ubisoft, I hope you're watching. I hate you with all my black fucking heart. I hate you with every ounce of fucking power I can hate you with. I'm going to go play Call of Duty when this is done. You morons.
The past couple of years, which has harmed them greatly in more ways than one. And with XDefiant, I thought it was going to be, I guess you would say, ushering in a new future for first-person shooters, arcade shooters in particular, and what they could possibly do with what seemed to be the endless amount of IPs that Ubisoft had up their sleeve.
All I'm going to do right now is just hopefully finish the grind, which I recognized as a long-term grind, but now I've got to get through it immediately. Congratulations. I'm not playing Black Ops 6 until June because I want to finish this game. Because I like this game. I was trying to grind both, but now I can't. No, I have to only grind this one before you tear it to pieces. Literally, Ubisoft. I hate you. Hate you, hate you. Hate, hate, hate. Never buying an Ubisoft game again. No one should buy an Ubisoft game again. You should go straight to video game hell.
And we're not going to really see that now, especially because they had a year one plan and beyond, and I am very familiar with that plan, but unfortunately, it's never going to see the light of day now. I know a lot of people called this game the Call of Duty killer. I never did. I always thought that this was more of a Call of Duty alternative, especially during that time when one of the first betas went live, or the alpha went live, right during the peak of Modern Warfare 2, when everyone was fed up with that game and how Infinity Ward was handling things. Things felt so much different in terms of how fast the game was, how things played. And it wasn't until Modern Warfare 3 came and just absolutely swept that shit up into a bin, because they absolutely reversed everything that Call of Duty was doing at that.
This is exactly what I'm saying. Are you that dumb, Ubisoft? Keep this game going and innovate. Keep caught on their toes. You will. You might not make $1 trillion billion fucking dollars, but aren't you making enough? And why don't you give us some good skins? Your spooky skins are the best one, but they're not even that good. I didn't even buy them because they're not that good. Give us some badass shit. Give us some thirst trap shit with these ladies. Anything. Just fuck you. Fuck you for ending this game. Fuck you.
At time, XDefiant never really had a chance, if we're being honest. They never had a chance.
I literally said the same thing.
With the decisions that were being made with promotions.
Prestige, I love you, bro. You're never going to see this. But everything you're saying is a hundo. I agree with.
They were focusing too much on talking about skill-based matchmaking, trying to gather more and more of the Call of Duty community, without adding those features that the COD community really likes. Barracks challenges in general, camo challenges, things
no
like that.
kill cam ever through the life cycle of this fucking game. No kill cam.
Bones,
Holy
which
shit.
is why many people stopped playing it, including myself. In fact, a lot of the stuff that was originally promised for XDefiant never actually made it into the game's life until much further down the road. And even now in season 2, the game is still trying to play catch up with certain features and things that should have been there from the very beginning. And the reason I say these things is because I was part of, once again, an early play session years before the game came out. And even then we were talking about the things that need to be done in order to succeed, and none of that seemed to actually happen, which is unfortunate. I tried to support the game. I tried to be positive. I tried to create content surrounding the game because I actually really enjoyed what was there. But it got really stale really fast because I felt like there was nothing really sinking its hooks into me.
Because Ubisoft didn't give this game love.
Sad to say that because I know with Call of Duty,
They want to maximize profit while not doing anything because they're fucking morons.
But because
Bad business people. Bad business. Fuck you.
To Call of Duty, it just kind of turned me off from wanting to play it. I didn't really feel that dopamine kick. I mean, I got a few gold guns in XDefiant, but after getting gold, I never really felt like going further than that, especially when they made the changes to how many levels are required to get gold guns. It just made it an absolute slog. And while it eventually evened out with some more updates and XP changes, it was just
the grinding that bad, dude.
Update that didn't really
Come
need
on.
to happen.
Nothing about this game was. Nothing about the game ruined this.
To be honest,
Ubisoft.
I don't know what they could have done in order to make things better. I don't know what they could have done marketing-wise to impress players to come and back and play the game. It feels like every time they're
How about some content?
It's always surrounding skill-based matchmaking to try and bring more.
It's a free-to-play game. It has to have content. It has to have content.
So was it an unwavering loyalty to Call of Duty that made the game fail? I don't think so, but I do think that XDefiant missed the mark in a few different places, including its initial launch, which was supposed to take place with Modern Warfare 2. The second big misstep was the content flow. It seemed like there was a serious lack of new content that came to the game. Whether it was just adding camo challenges or barracks challenges or something to get the dopamine fix that Call of Duty players did seek.
I went in every day for my daily challenges. Every day. A lot of people did. Ubisoft, because Ubisoft is a fucking piece of shit fucking company who should be dissolved. It's dissolved. It's fuck off forever. All your shareholders should line all up the entire board, fuck them in the asshole.
Into the game. Weapon leveling is fun to an extent, but when you constantly have to use the same thing for just, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 new camos for thousands to tens of thousands of kills, it gets pretty repetitive and boring, especially when you're playing on the same map set list.
Whatever, dude. This is a good game. It feels good. It's fun to play. What's the problem of grinding on a camo if you're having fun? Yeah, you can rage in this game because there's some serious sweats and there's no SBMM, and you're gonna get some stacked. You know, you're gonna get a stacked team that's gonna beat the fucking shit out of you. And yeah, there's been plenty of times I've raged. This part of gaming. That's the beauty of it. Because I would have good games too. And I knew that it was because of how I played, not because of any kind of help or manipulation of the algorithm. Like Ubisoft. Fuck you. Fuck you 1,000 times. Worst gaming company on earth. Never buying an Ubisoft game again. I'm not buying Far Cry 7. I'm not buying Watch Dogs 4. I'm not buying any of your fucking shit. I just want you to just hang it up. I want you to end as a company forever.
Over and over again. The same thing can be said about game modes. While they eventually did get a bigger set of game modes, it was pretty scarce that long.
This game hasn't been out for a fucking year!
XDefiant still built a very loyal fan base that really appreciated the game for what it was. People really appreciated the old school classic arcade feel that the game brought, and that was one of the reasons why I enjoyed playing it as well. But I would be totally lying to you if I said that I didn't fall off before Season 1 jumped in. Even after Season 1 came through and I jumped in to play the game, I felt like there was just nothing there for me to keep playing. I just felt like I wasn't attached to the camo grind that they ended up putting in. I felt like I wasn't really attached to trying to rank up my character or anything. The prestige mode still never made it into the game, even though they talked about that before launch. I mean, it was just a lot of little things that added up to a lot of big things that caused me.
They didn't even finish the practice zone. Fuck you, Ubisoft, you lazy. Why don't you fucking kill yourselves? Say it. Sorry, get me banned. Ubisoft, your whole board. Jump in the river.
You to not play the game. I don't know how anyone else out there feels, but I'd really like to know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm incredibly shocked that a game like Skull and Bones is still able to be purchased and played and online and have, you know, it's online still, when a game like XDefiant, I would say, is, you know, 10 times better than anything that Skull and Bones is. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Once again, I am incredibly sorry for all of the developers that are, you know, being laid off for the holiday season. That is so sad. I have nothing else to say. Was I expecting this? No. Was it something that was surprising? Also, not really. It wasn't really surprising because of the rumors that we heard back in October. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more coming very soon. And of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Peace.
Comment again. I need to check out Delta Force. Hey, we won. Delta Force. Oh, it looks like it might be first person. Maybe I'll play it. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
One of my most anticipated games for 2025 has just released a ton of information and confirmed the date of their beta, releasing this December. A huge thank you to Delta Force for sponsoring not only the live stream where I got to be part
I'll wait for the full release.
This announcement, as well as, of course, sponsoring this video. So if you spent any time watching my videos recently, you know I love extraction shooters. And so far, Delta Force is looking like it could be a standout game in this genre. Not only that, but it's also going to have a multiplayer respawn giant battle style mode called Warfare. This is developed by Team Jade, published by Teamy Studios, which is a name you may already know, especially if you play Call of Duty Mobile. If you want to check it out yourself, wishlist the game down below because it's coming December 5th to PC. Now, let's start with weapons. It has been confirmed that there's going to be 50 different weapons to choose from in this PC beta. One thing that they were particularly proud of was the sound design for each of these weapons. We saw a video of them actually going out and recording all of this audio and the sheer volume of microphones that were required for this, and all of the nuanced details from reloading, shooting, making sure the environment was correct. It was, they're going all out on this. A lot of games will copy and paste assets from other elements of it, but it seems like they're really going all out. But I thought it was really cool to see something that they're definitely trying to make as immersive as possible. In terms of how the weapons will handle, they have gone into great depth with all of the different stats for each of the guns, as well as dependent on the mode. Each gun's going to factor in the damage, the range, the control, stability, handling, accuracy, accuracy, aim down sight speeds, the whole thing that you would expect from a solid FPS game. Of course, there will be options that you can purchase, and we'll touch on that, but there's also
So I don't know, Matt C. I don't know if you're still here. Probably not.
You can get by playing.
Yeah, this looks good.
Of the coolest elements is
I don't
that
know if I
this
can
is
play
an
the beta.
extraction
It's
game
coming
where you
up.
can actually extract
But
camos.
I will
as
definitely
well
check it
as
out when it
then
comes out.
Sell those and
I'll
even
get it on
exchange it
Steam.
for other camos. Fortunately, you can't lose these. They are permanent unlocks. But of course, the weapons and things that you bring in will be permanently lost if you die with them, at least in the extraction mode. They also revealed that if you customize one of your weapons and get a camo for it, you can change any of the attachments for that weapon, which there is an astronomical amount here, and it will maintain that skin and that camo and look across all of them. Who would have thought that's possible? With over 1,000 different attachments across all of these different guns, in combination with being able to tune the weapon, not just for the sake of changing numbers, but it also changes the way the gun actually looks, where that underbarrel attachment or even the laser is mounted on the gun. Obviously, a big question that everybody had going into this before this reveal was how are they going to be monetizing this game? A lot of people have been very concerned about pay to win. They have reiterated it in every one of these calls that they've done that they will not be doing any pay to win elements in their game. The currency that you get, whether you're playing the multiplayer mode or the extraction mode, will be only earnable by playing the game. The cosmetics that you can purchase will come from also earning it in game. Or
I want to know the game
by
modes.
buying a bundle, you can know the exact price of the pack that you're going to be purchasing, or even just purchase the specific item within the pack that you want. And you can preview everything before you purchase it, which is nice. When it comes to the actual attachments, though, if you didn't see this even in the previous alpha that they have done, you can actually
That's kind of fun.
That will pre-equip the entire gun, because there are so many attachments in this game, it can be overwhelming to even figure that out. So you could get a build, you could get my build exactly and just copy and paste in a code, and it'll instantly build out the gun exactly how you want to build it. Or you can share with somebody else easily by doing that. Something on the cosmetic side, but also on the actual practical gameplay side to enjoy. One of the most intriguing things that they revealed to us, though, is that they're going to have a optic in the game for a sniper rifle that will actually predict where the player is moving, which obviously if you're sniping, you're trying to calculate the lead and where exactly you should be aiming on this target is insane. So we'll see how that works. But something that I was curious about and asked them was, how are you going to be balancing all of the weapons? Because there is such a difference between an extraction.
The whole player base is talking about this game right now. Ubisoft, you fucking idiots. You're about to get fucking stowed on by who the fuck made Delta Force? Probably a fucking indie. Probably like one dude. Fuck you, Ubisoft. You're dog shit. Fuck you. Fuck your executives. I hope all you billionaires fucking lose every cent you have and get thrown into one of those old school poorhouses and get fucked in the ass.
Game mode where you can alter the power of a weapon by also adjusting the economy. You know, if you want to get the sniper, the thing costs the equivalent of an entire kitted gun for every single shot, 160 grand. That's a good way to balance it. Whereas you can't really do that in a quick multiplayer respawn if you're just going to spawn with the arm every time, especially as they're going to be adding new weapons over time. Even 3 more are going to be added with each season. But they said they are going to be balancing for each individual mode and making a good balance across all of the weapons. They don't want everybody to just use the same overpowered weapons all of the time, especially in the multiplayer mode. Being able to adjust the attachments and
higher multiplayer.
Great. We also got some information on the vehicles. In the upcoming beta, they're going to have 10 different vehicles to choose from. These are going to include tanks.
So what? It's like Battlefield. I don't like Battlefield. 6v6, fucking kick you in the ass, fucking high speed fun is why I'm here. I'm not here for some like whatever. I don't want to ride a fucking vehicle. I want to shoot from a boat. I just want to run around. And the only options you have right now, well, until June, this game and Call of Duty. And Ubisoft is so fucking stupid, they don't realize that like they are in a very solid position, but because they're not seeing that sweet De Niro, because they're bunch of fucking fat cat flappy neck fucking suit wearing pieces of shit. You're just gonna shut it down. I hope you all go broke. You're the worst business people. You have no idea. You obviously know nothing about gaming. Ubisoft, all you flappy neck fucks don't know shit about gaming, especially shooters. And you should just give it up. Stop everything you're doing. Just fuck off. Just fuck off forever. Fuck you.
Helicopters as well as quad bikes, they really want to capitalize as well on making each vehicle feel authentic.
I've seen enough.
As well as, of course.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the...
A bold adventure. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very devastating day.
Now, this is the
XDefiant
dude I feel
indeed.
bad for. Fucking Jay Bowen. Let's look at his last video. Let's look at 6 days ago. Wait, let me see. He puts up some. Okay, Treyarch. Uh-oh. 4 days ago. 4 days ago. XDefiant won't die. 4 days later. Dead. Bro, hit me up. I love you, man. This game was great. You deserve love. I'm gonna give you, you know what, you already got them. Here. I got the bill on your ass. I appreciate what you did. Jay Owen, a man. Good on you. I've been watching your videos. And this is depressing. But I'm with you 100%, man. If Ubisoft doesn't turn the shit around, keep this game alive, I'll dig the grave for them. Because they're cool.
A bold adventure to develop a new arcade shooter called XDefiant. It was from the start an incredible challenge. Not only were we trying to shake up the genre by removing skill-based matchmaking, SBMM, while bringing back a more old-school arcade shooter experience, but we're also diving into the high-risk, high-reward realm of free-to-play. And for that, I want to applaud not only the dev team, but also Ubisoft leadership for taking that chance. Free-to-play, in particular, is a...
Thank you, Ubisoft leadership. You know what? I'm sorry, Mark, but fuck Ubisoft leadership in their mother's asshole. I don't give a fuck. They fucked you, and they fucked this game, and they fucked the players, and they fucked everyone because they can't fucking squeeze enough blood out of a fucking stone. Eat my complete asshole, Ubisoft, you capitalist, fucking no good, non-gaming, fucking just losers who should just fuck off the planet completely. Just get on a fucking spaceship, go to the sun, and kill yourself, all of us, because gaming would be better without you around. Eat my shit.
A long journey. Many free-to-play games take a long time to find their footing and become...
Yeah! So why did Ubisoft only give this game like 9 months? It takes a long time. And this game would have been successful with more content. More maps they had. It was slowly building. But Ubisoft, no, we want it now. Because we're greedy, fat, pig fucking bloodsuckers. And they should all just fuck themselves. You know what? I want the whole board of Ubisoft, get their wives, come to my hotel room, sit on the cuck chair while I fuck every single one of them in the fucking asshole and face. Eat my shit.
It's a long journey that Ubisoft and the teams working on the game were prepared to make until very recently. But unfortunately, the journey became too much to sensibly continue. I am of course heartbroken to have to be writing this post. Yes, this game has been a personal passion for me for years. And yes, I know that not all challenges lead to victory. But I also want to recognize all of the developers who are being affected by this closure. Each and every one of them is a real person with a real life separate from our own. And they have all put so much of their own passion into making this game. Trust me, I've seen it. I have seen it. And I hope that they can be proud of what they did achieve. I know that I will always be proud and grateful to have worked with such a great team, a team that really punched above its weight class. And what they achieved is truly remarkable. The early response from players when XDefiant launched was amazing. We broke internal records for the fastest game to surpass 5 million users, and in the end, we had over 15 million players.
That sounds like a great reason to keep them alive. But Ubisoft is stupid. Like, just beyond stupid. Even on the money-making side. Eventually, you will make money, but, like, because you didn't get it, like, yesterday, capitalist, rich fucks. I hope you all die. I hope communism takes over. Push all you rich bitches against the fucking wall.
Play our game. This is something to be extremely proud of, especially considering how tough this genre is. So thank you to all of the developers who put their passion into making this game. If there's one thing I hope we can all take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest communication between developers and players. This player-first mentality, along with respectful, non-toxic conversations between developers and players, has been one of the standout differences that made XDefiant so special. From my very first post about XDefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion, and I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the game industry treats its players and communities. To our players, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible community that has grown around XDefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication has inspired us every step of the way. With the utmost of love and respect, Mark. First and foremost, I have to give a massive thank you to Mark Rubin, obviously, and the whole development team working on this game. The fact that you guys were active with us, talked with us, we even had developers watching tons of different people's content to try to, perfect everything, find different bugs, problems. Cheaters in the game being instantly banned because they would listen to community feedback with actual proof of videos and stuff like that. Like, they were always interacting with us, and I can't tell you guys how much that actually meant. And I will die on this hill, but right when you guys came out during Modern Warfare 2 2022 and presented yourself with that communication, everything changed. Halo changed, Battlefield changed, and Call of Duty changed with Modern Warfare 3 2023. I still personally believe that your communication has changed the way that a lot of other development teams are approaching game design as a whole, because these other companies are still prospering, but I think they're starting to see that communities matter. Our voices matter. And, although that's not always going to be the case and a lot of games are still going to neglect us, at the end of the day, it was just an absolutely outstanding experience to be a part of the process of this game. You don't really get that feeling with a lot of these development teams. Usually, these teams make their games for them, not for us, right? But every step of the way with XDefiant, I felt like the game was for us, not the dev team. The dev team had, the initial vision, but once that game dropped, it was all of us, our feedback, our communication, our ideas. We're all implemented into this title, and it sucks, man. It sucks. This was probably the most fun I've had in an FPS game in ages. I've been hooked. I have almost 500, no, not almost. I have over 500 plus hours combined between everything in this game, betas, and also the full release of the title. I've sunken in a ton of time, and I will tell you right now, I do not regret any last bit. Every single skin, I don't even want them to refund for it. I don't want anything back. I put money forth to this game because I loved it. I had a passion for it. It was enjoyable. And I know the haters can't stand that. It's so sad because the majority of these losers on the internet are so happy to, crap on a game as long as it's something that they despise, they hate, right? They can't handle when someone enjoys something that they hate. And here we are, and I already know they're going to be celebrating. But I saw a post from Pro Reborn that honestly I completely agree with in every way, shape, or form. He says, FYI, COD remains uncontested in the world, and XDefiant will be a stark warning to anyone planning to compete with them. If you are celebrating, you're an idiot. COD has free reign to be as toxic and anti-consumer as possible. Completely agree. It doesn't matter what side of this game that you're on. XDefiant was number 2 when it comes to 6v6 competition for Call of Duty. There is not a single game out there that I can think of that is
100% Prestige. This is Prestige, right? No, this is Job, sorry. You're right. There's no one else. Like, people are moving to Delta Force, but that looks like goddamn Battlefield. And guess what? Battlefield ain't a replacement for Call of Duty. People, I don't know why it was ever like a thing. But like, it's not the same game modes. It's not the same fast-paced excitement. It's a bunch of running. and like flying and riding tanks, and which is fine. Not what I'm looking for when I get home from work. Looking for some fast-paced, crazy, twitchy action. And you're taking it away because you are shit. Look at, I'm not even good. I'm on the fucking bottom. I still like this game better than Call of Duty. And fuck you, Ubisoft, for taking it from us. Stealing it from us. Just... What is that? From the jaws of victory? Seriously. And can you at least give us double XP the rest of the lifespan? You shitheads. Or are you just going to give us on the weekends again? Like, this is like an actual living game. Either fucking keep the game going or give us double XP. Shut the fuck up forever.
Is better competition than XDefiant? There is none. Every other game is either a different style. Halo, that's an arena shooter. Battlefield, that's more of an open, battle. Like 32 versus 32 is not compared to 6.
Stuff that we talk about. You may have issues with me personally. That's fine. I don't care at all.
Like, I do care insofar as I find it really funny. I think it's really entertaining.
All the other little dirtbags jumped in, and they were like, container are turning right. The 13 douchebags are right. We need to protect every
Can this please be the last Thanksgiving? This is like, at this point,
I honestly, this still is so funny to me.
Okay. Listen, we got. Okay. Hold. You gotta stop. You gotta.
oh my God. Lance, are you one of the 13 douchebags?
This still is so funny to me. I'm just sitting here. I was like, what? What clips are you in? Like, A, never called the guy a Nazi, not once. I haven't done it. 2, I don't think I've ever brought up TYT or Anna and Chang's clear pivot to right in relation to China and trans people. And
yeah, how about it?
To trans people because China, but like I have no
like
idea
China's dog shit on trans issues. Am I right? I might be guessing.
In his mind together simultaneously before he starts calling out Sam.
Okay.
I mean, I'm 100% right. Every
We got it.
I'm losing my fucking mind.
Every dirtbag show did it. Tell me I'm wrong.
This is reframing an issue that is now we've moved away from the electoral consequences of a trans ad to your own personal anger and frustration that you have with left-wing media online.
Look, the idiots are making everyone think they are the left. They're like, we're the left, we're the real left. Okay, we are super extreme. We want free surgeries for every criminal. Yes, we're the left. And oh, Nazi. Then majority.
Yeah, again, it is Highlander rules.
There can be only one.
Fate other people's communities and audiences and then gain his own in the process. Again, Highlander rules, right? By every single person that leaves TYT, the majority report becomes ever more powerful, viewer by viewer. When really, I think the idea should be that there are a lot of people on the left. There's lots of leftist content producers, and some of them appeal to different people for different reasons. You might watch me because you like the silly voices that I do, or you think that I'm maybe a little bit of a happier spin on the news or something like that. And that's why you watch my show or you watch my videos. And then because of that, I get to appeal to a certain amount of people who then in turn may want to watch the majority report, or vice versa. If you have someone like Hassan, where people want to hear him yell at his own audience, or right-wingers, or, police, or whatever it is, that is going to appeal to obviously a lot of people. They love Hassan and they love his content. And then that's also going to open up the door for more people, because other people who might not originally have been leftists are suddenly wanting to watch leftist content or see what it's all about and stuff like that. It's all collectively, when it comes to left-wing media, we're all entertainers. All of us, we're all entertainment. We're a form of entertainment, and ideally we can appeal to a broad amount of people. The more people, the better, because the more people who are suddenly going to be entertained by that form of media, rather than watch a Steven Crowder, rather than watch a Tim Pool, rather than watch a Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro, or rather than watch any of the Manosphere, rather than watch Fresh and Fit, rather than watch fucking Jordan Peterson, rather than watch any of that kind of stuff. They want to watch something else that maybe can inform them in addition to entertaining them, and I think that's important.
Come on, go to hell. Sam, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of IMs today about Cenk. I think if you haven't seen what he had to say about you, you should watch it, but I don't think it needs to be public. TYT seems to be trying to go in a different direction, and criticism should be about their coverage and policy, not about personal disputes. I, yesterday, did see some clips from, I guess, something that happened like on Thanksgiving or whatnot. I got to be honest, I don't really care. The last, any type of communication I had with Cenk was, I think, like in July. And it was in response to like the, I don't know, fourth or fifth thing that I had seen that I found sort of offensive and wrong. And to be honest with you, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was about trans stuff, but it could also have been about, they're chasing that fake Venezuelan story. I don't remember when it was. Maybe that was in the fall, so maybe it was not that. It was probably the trans stuff. And I made it clear to Cenk that he was invited to come on the show, and we can have a debate, we can discuss whatever. I mean, and he made it clear to me that he was not interested in that. He was mad. He was very, very mad about all of it. And I will just say, like, I didn't hear any issue that he had with the stuff that we talk about. He may have issues with me personally. That's fine. I don't care at all. I told him 8 years ago, it was in October, I remember, because I think he was at that conference.
That's really funny, though, because, like, I do care insofar as I find it really funny. I think it's really entertaining, and seeing like Cenk melt down in a way in which, like, I can't even completely comprehend where the call-out's coming from. But he's like, oh, and then Lance from the surfs, and he's saying that, oh, we have to like fucking give all trans people surgeries, and they do it in China, and that we love China even though they're authoritarian, but we hate them and we're all Nazis. I was like, I don't even get the call-out right now. I understand the call-out from like the entire, I did push back on TYT for two main categories. One, yes, inclusive language, which again they know is fucking something they talked about in the exact same way I did like 8 months prior, so it's not exactly a surprise. I think that's y'all changing your positions to try and cater to a different audience. But the other one is obviously on the way that they hyper-focus on stories usually surrounding propaganda. surrounding things like, hey, prison abolition, the vilification of immigrants, the hyper sensationalization of stories surrounding crime insofar as it's probably going to benefit state power. It's probably going to benefit people who are looking to, again, utilize these stories that really scare you. They're very scary stories when you hear them, right? You're going to be like, oh my God, whoa, apparently Venezuelan gangs are taking over this entire apartment block, and it's horrifying. And the left won't talk about it because the left are too scared of being called racist or xenophobes. But this is something that concerns everyday people. And what are we going to do about that? Like, yeah, I call out and I push back on that. But I've said the exact same thing as Sam when I'm like, I added Jay on Twitter. If you ever want to talk about any of these, I am always willing to do so. And if you don't want to platform me because you're worried that you've already created me and created the monster you see before you by having me on your show in the first place, that's fine. You can do it online. You know, it's a bit of a smaller audience, but still, I will gladly talk about any of these issues, whether it's prison reform, whether it's abolition,
I miss you.
Whether it's trans rights, whatever the case may be. I have no problem defending my beliefs. I've done it with a ton of
no viewers, brah.
I got no problem with it, but there's never a response, right? It's basically just like, no, the source calls me a Nazi because I think they're so pure and the one pure left, and they want to just be, we're the one true leftists and all this kind of stuff. Which, again, not things I've ever done. Never called him a Nazi. Never said that I'm the one true leftist.
He is a Nazi, though. Fuck Chankin, the fucking asshole.
The proper proletariat or something like that. Don't give two fucks about any of that. But again, we'll talk about the issues, get to the bottom of them, find where we disagree, you know, find where that 10% of disagreement lies that he always says, the coveted 10%, then obviously, any time.
And he said, how can this is going to be a disaster. And by that point, he was also talking that Hillary Clinton had Parkinson's and that Second-ish was assassinated by the Clintons. And, my attitude was like, you could criticize Hillary Clinton, and you should, but when you promote right-wing memes like that, you are doing a disservice. It doesn't matter the other stuff you're talking about. You're basically promoting right-wing memes and narratives.
Even if within your coverage, right, for Jimmy, even if you have bake in some plausible deniability. I mean, I've always maintained that what you cover is just as important.
Well, that's what editorial is. That's the
right. Editorial discretion, right. So, like, in any issues we've had with that Venezuela story, which now has been thoroughly debunked.
Any apology about that?
None. That doesn't seem to be the case. But like that even if you're saying, okay, there's nuance in this story, it's about what you choose to cover and what you choose to give credibility to, or assign some sort of
when you do one story like that.
Yes.
I mean, yes. Now, TYT was built on a certain amount of sensationalism. That's fine. I think it's helpful. We do sort of like we have the fun half. And so, that's that. I understand that. But when you promote a right-wing narrative and you focus on a story, and I've told this story about Rush Limbaugh, focusing on, like, I remember this vividly. He was talking about, like, all the enviros are worried about so-called global warming. And he found this story about, like, they put this reflective stuff on a glacier in the Swiss Alps because they wanted, and then as he's reading it, he hadn't read it carefully, but he looked for that one tiny story that he thought would promote a narrative, a false narrative. And it actually happened that it was the ski resort that did it because they were trying to deal with all the melting of their glaciers. But the point being that, like, and so I took issue with that with him, and I am perfectly willing to go on his show and talk about, debate any of this. I have no problem with that at all. He doesn't want to come on this one? Fine. I'm willing to go on his. But I don't care about the rest of the stuff that he says. Yeah. He can introduce me as whatever he wants to introduce me as.
What about the T? Are you not going to answer the accusations? Come on.
But if he's willing to have...
By the way, this is the most mature possible response. My sillies aside. Like that, yes, absolutely. When it comes down to it, it's like, sure, Yeah, I could sit here all day and listen to yet another clip compilation of Jake saying that I've called him a Nazi and that I said that unless he's willing to support, sex change operations taking place in China and give props to China, that he in fact is a Nazi, and I will call him a Nazi every single time he refuses to acknowledge that, in prisons that they need to have. Like, I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. I don't know where any of that is coming from, and you could actually accuse me of the things that I have called them out for, or I have pushed back on instead of the random nonsense. But the most responsible thing you could possibly say is like, okay, fine, but taking the drama and putting it aside and all the weird accusations and call-outs, if you actually want to discuss the issues at hand, whether it be immigration, prison reform, prison abolition, trans rights, any of the things that you seem to take a lot of issue with when it comes to any remote pushback, in any way, shape, or form.
Engagement on questions of crime, on questions as to whether there's something fundamentally different about MAGA or
maybe I will try Delta Force
today than there was 8 years ago when I know he was vehemently against
I'm grinding COD, so I mean it's not like you don't have anything to play.
8 years ago,
I was planning on grinding both.
That he ran a
and now I'm only grinding one. Thanks, XDefiant, Ubisoft, you fucking stupid fucks.
Fascist. That's a verbatim quote, by the way, and that everything had to be done to stop him. So he was an in case of emergency candidate, a break glass in case of emergency candidate that was going to try and force Joe Biden out of the race, and that's why he was doing it. And now he needs your support and fundraising more than ever. That was the thing that he canvassed for, that he fundraised for, that he had a website for, that I think is still up, Cenk for President or whatever. And that was the premise of it. That wasn't years ago. This entire kind of switch into maybe Donald Trump's not really a fascist, or when I said fascist, I didn't mean it in the Mussolini and Hitler sense. I more meant it in the he's kind of authoritarian sense, or maybe he's a populist. He was always a populist, and now that he's a populist and I've identified him as a populist, I can safely say that I want to work with the populist as long as he turns out to be a real one. If he's a faux populist, the people will turn on him. They will accept him not being a real. I was like, but he's already been president, so we already know what level of insanity people are willing to accept from Donald Trump. That he can lie to his own base and tell them that he actually won the election. He can lie to his own base and tell them that he, in fact, is the rightful president of the United States, and the election's been stolen, and that everyone should be doing everything in their power to try and save democracy by doing a coup. He can say those kind of things. He can lie to governors and ask them for more votes. He can actually be a convicted fucking criminal. He can be a serial rapist, but still lie about it and say that he's never done anything wrong, that the very people who have accused him of rape, unfortunately, he would not find him attractive. He can just lie and lie and lie. He can basically promote ideas of QAnon or promote white supremacy, or promote the Proud Boys, or promote any of these white supremacist organizations, while at the same time his base continues to believe him. So it's in no way, shape, or form demonstratable that if he suddenly wavers on his populist ideas, he's already been president. This is going to be the second run through. We know what he can say, get away with, and then people fucking believe it. Yeah, Lost is saying he's white.
Discuss trans issues. I'm willing to discuss crime issues in the way that they
everyone check out Lost this RUX channel
played in this. I'm willing to discuss whether he thinks that we are extremists. I would also say the dirtbag left was a different cohort than us. I mean, I think that was more like the Chapo and Come Town and this and that, but I don't care about that either. None of that's important. I'm happy to go on that show at any time and debate these issues. But after that, I don't care about any of this. Honestly, it's a waste of my time. And so...
Live from the Polymarket studio in LA.
I understand. They are sponsored by.
Well, you're a grifter apparently. That's the thing is look, I've worked at both places.
Put it this way. I'm willing to put a bet on a overseas betting market.
Yes.
I'm willing to put a bet that he won't invite me on to discuss this.
I mean,
well, can I just make a quick point?
Yeah.
The whole Venezuela story, which people should watch, Jose is it Jose not a J on YouTube, or Jose on YouTube's takedown of that? Very good, long, in-depth thing. They should apologize for it, but they didn't cover it because they cared about the state of what was going on in Colorado. They did it because they wanted to throw shade at all the left media who doesn't take these crime stories at face value like they want to.
Yeah.
And that's always the case. And that's like one of the things, like, I actually take a lot of issue with it because I get called out consistently. And I was called out by a lot of people where they're like, why are you infighting? Why are you attacking the left? And I was like, I'm responding. I'm responding, A, to a call out by Jank in this case. And B, in another case, it's that these segments, these ones that are always like tough on crime, they always have an angle at the end of them where they're like, and to the left who think that it's okay to not talk about this kind of story because you're scared of being perceived as a racist by the woke scold, or you're scared as being seen as xenophobic because you're not, willing to speak out against the Venezuelan gangs that are actually attacking. I'll have you know, the victims in this story happen to be migrants themselves. The victim in this story happened to be immigrants, and yet you won't stand up for them. Or when it came to the shoplifting stories, which were also debunked, by the way, the fact that it's like shoplifting at Target is out of control. Shoplifting at they're now closing down multiple stores. Multiple Targets are closing down in the United States, and they're closing down because of shoplifting. It's completely out of control, and shame on you lefties who won't speak about this, because you know who's suffering? The workers of those stores. The people who have to work at that store and deal with thieves, with crime, with the criminal element, and yet you're not willing to stand up for the workers? Well, no, but like in this case, it turns out that Target and the stores that closed down, especially the stores in areas in New York, they didn't close down in the regions in which shoplifting was the most prevalent. There was research into this that showed that the Target stores had more shoplifting at locations that stayed open. The reason for closing down a lot of the stores was that the consumers in those areas happened to be in more impoverished communities and weren't able to buy as much of the products in those locations, but they blamed the entire thing on shoplifting. This same company, by the way, that we should be pointing out, has had numerous lawsuits against it for wage theft, for not properly paying their workers, for not properly treating their workers well. And that is the most common form of theft. It's not shoplifting, it's wage theft. There's a huge inverse, and there's a problem with most mainstream media, and in this case, TYT is joining the bandwagon in always reporting on petty crime as the most scariest, like, dangerous thing that's happening into society. It gets you all at home really afraid because you're like, I'm looking at footage right now of a burning car. I'm looking at footage right now of guys smashing into buildings. I'm looking at footage right now of people looting just right out of the stores. And yes, shoplifting occurs. Yes, people break into cars. Yes, there is theft. But when you look at the raw numbers, the media doesn't concentrate on the stories that will actually hold people in power to account. The people who rip off workers on a really large scale, on a regular basis. There's not really an oversight committee to be able to go after these people to the degree in which it needs to be enforced. So instead, we stay scared about the poorest people in society, especially people who happen to be shoplifting items that aren't necessarily televisions, jewelry, stuff like that. Like the people who are shoplifting, diapers, baby formula, that kind of shit. When you see that on the news, and it's like, okay, well, I think that kind of speaks more to there being a problem with people being able to afford a lot of these basic goods than it does that every one of these horrifying criminals needs to be locked up instantaneously. And it's not that like the left is unwilling to call out violent criminals. It's that, why are you hyper focusing on that? You are the media. You tell the story. When you tell and shine a light on a specific story, the intent behind that is to make people concerned about that issue. So how often are you shining the light, say, on corporate greed? And how much more does corporate greed damage society, especially poor people, especially the working class, than, say, the petty criminals? No one is ever going to want to be on the defensive of a guy who had been released from jail and is stabbing people. I've had to say that so many times. No one's on the other end of that. No one's like, oh no, it's a good thing that there's a person walking through New York who's punching old grandmothers in the face. That's definitely what I'm for. And if you don't believe in that, you're not a true leftist. It was in the Communist Manifesto. No, it's not. But it's like a lot of these problems, especially criminals, especially petty crime, they have a lot more societal causational reasons. There's a lot more reasons why these problems become exacerbated. There's like that study that shows like once rent increases by like $200, homelessness increases by like 7%. I would say that there's like usually an increase in the amount of poverty as there is an increase in the amount of difficulty for people to afford basic living expenses. And as those basic living expenses increase and the cost of consumer goods increases and the cost of rent goes up, well then there's going to be more working poor. There's going to be more people having difficulty. And that's who as leftists we should be shining a light on. Not on the random immigrant who committed this assault, which everyone agrees is horrible. That's a bad thing. That's too bad. But are the majority of violent crimes being committed by immigrants, or are they committed by naturally born or naturalized citizens? In fact, natural-born citizens of the United States commit more crime than immigrants do to the United States. So again, that's something else that you should be focusing on if you really just want to focus on violent crime. Violent crime.
Violent crime.
There you go.
And then taking it at face value, I think showed itself. It's just like crazy to me. I mean, look, I didn't see all of it. I did see when he called you a grifter, and I think if we're grifting, we're doing a pretty bad job. But like the notion that you bring up Jimmy, you know, I think he has a misunderstanding of what you were even communicating when you're saying you're trying to take Jimmy's audience. Like, you're not trying to say you want to take it so that you make more money. I think we've been kind of hands off with this stuff with TYT because largely we don't like to really go after our allies. And usually and especially because I had personal relationships there, but we get IMs and people want us to respond to it. And increasingly we're going to have to, because they have decided that they're basically kind of doing a much more, I would say, centrist channel at this point. And so when they're giving credibility to right-wing talking points, we want to respond to that, not because we're trying to make money. And I know, and
I'd like to announce Matt Pack. I got a new political action committee.
Not to make money or running for president or whatever. Like, not to do any of that, but to basically try to de-radicalize people by mocking them and by changing their minds. When you are talking about Jimmy, and I know this because we've had these conversations and because we do it with right-wingers, it's because...
It's also really addictive too, right? Like, Jank was, again, getting maybe a couple hundred to 1,000 likes on a single tweet, and since putting these kind of like more favorable to MAGA tweets out there, you can just see the numbers speak for themselves. Like 80k likes, 11k likes, 12k likes. I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I'm so against the guy who won. I now know MAGA is not my mortal enemy, and neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. How? How was the establishment defeated? With the election of Donald Trump and the Republicans to all three branches of government. Like, again, that's a laughable take. One in which you're clearly trying to position yourself to be more favorable to a Republican administration, more favorable to a Republican audience. I understand that part, but at the same time, not trying to alienate every single member of the progressive wing of your consistent and already established audience, but also trying to do something which, again, like, no one is going to read that as a leftist and be like, wait, what? I think a combined like $311 billion worth of wealth between the core members of the Trump administration who have been announced so far. They are a combination of war hawks, of neocons, billionaires, multimillionaires, and deeply entrenched within the capitalist system. The elites, the day after the election, the billionaires got a surge of money when a whole bunch of people started pouring money into the stock market. Like, it's just one of those things where it's unbelievable to try and frame it this way, where like in any way the establishment or the elites or those with power or those with capital have been affected. They haven't. It's not just the establishment candidate lost, it's that their media is mortally wounded. The source of their strength was not insipid politicians like Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden. The source of their strength was their propaganda machine, the mainstream media. Now, online media is strong enough that their oppressive monopoly on the American mind has been broken. Now, we're in the jungle. They hate that. I love it. This uncontrolled marketplace of ideas is where I'm home. I'd rather be in populist woods than in an establishment prison. And, like, there is a huge distrust for mainstream and corporate media. That is very, very true. And there's absolutely a huge distrust for, you know, people not wanting to watch CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all that kind of stuff. But that didn't change with the election of Donald Trump a second time. That wasn't Donald Trump getting elected that suddenly, oh, the elites are running. The elites are scared. Oh, they're terrified now.
You have to combat these bad ideas head on and try to change people's minds in that regard. And Jimmy has shown himself since that time period, since you had that conversation, to be a grifter in and of himself. And you were right about that. And so if we're responding to somebody peddling right-wing talking points, the problem is the peddling of the right-wing talking points.
Yeah, and look, people can have different opinions, but I think the crime stuff was pretty clear. If you look at Donald Trump's one of the biggest cohorts of people who voted for Donald Trump, I had it somewhere around here. They believed that crime was at an all-time high in this country. And it's not even remotely close to that.
Yeah.
Not even remotely close. It's, if anything, in the past 40 years, it's probably still pretty close to an all-time low.
Thank you for the pride.
But how did they get this idea in their head? Now, was it TYT? No, of course. It was Fox. It was a huge right-wing machine. But where are you putting, if it's he rightly, he says he's the biggest progressive thing out there. If the biggest progressive online outlet puts that, if it's a feather or a 5-pound weight or a 100-pound weight on the scales of that, it is it's a negative. It's bad. If you're out there saying that that the in terms of women's sports, or the amount of subjugation you feel because somebody somewhere supposedly called you a birthing person, how real is that, and how much of it is a narrative that has been created, and are you playing into it, and are you promoting it? Now, if you get to the point where you say, I'm optimistic and enthusiastic, why am I feeling so good after Donald Trump wins the election? Well, you're suggesting to people that these people are being earnest. And, like I say, we were talking about this with Rick Perlstein. When Kennedy's out there saying, we're going to get rid of these, unhealthy things in the food. It's too processed. There's too much corn. Our ag policy is bad for big agriculture. Because of big ag. I think it is a reasonable argument to have. How do we leverage this? Are these policies?
And you've seen other people do that, right? A lot of people got really mad at Bernie Sanders for being Elon Musk is right in relation to him wanting to audit the Pentagon. And it's sad because on one end, I understand why people are you know what, this is just the incoming administration. These are the incoming people in power. So maybe if there's any way, shape, or form I can try to achieve a common goal, right? We could basically see if we could do something simultaneously. If he's actually going to try and rein in the U.S. defense budget, that would be actually a good thing. Even if you hate Elon Musk, as I do, I would objectively be it's actually a good thing that Elon Musk is now, through the Department of Government Efficiency, going to be proposing that the Pentagon spend way less on their military budget. I don't in any way, shape, or form believe that to be true, though, which is why I think that even early acquiescence or early support for a lot of these ghouls and far-right figures, it's not going to net alliances or anything that you're looking for. When it comes to RFK Jr., there was a really good interview that Sam did actually with someone recently who was talking about how a lot of his policies actually align to very similar ideals that were done by Nazi Germany, speaking about the Übermensch, speaking about the ideal candidate, the healthy ultimate human, which they of course believe to be the Aryan race and all that racist bullshit Nazi stuff. But the idea that in order for everyone to be healthy, to make America healthy again, we are going to have a strict fitness regimen, a strict diet, both of which are things that people within certain economic classes are going to be able to afford, and people who are not, or people who may have disabilities, or people who have dietary restrictions or things that they can't eat, are obviously going to suffer from. People who are in food deserts are not going to have access to a all organic, diet that is incredibly high in protein and low in saturated fats and low in salt and sugar, and have time to both buy those groceries, take them home, cook them properly. And if anyone falls below the required ratio, then they won't get whatever weird tax bursaries or incentivizations are put forth. A lot of that stuff on its surface, it may sound as if he's trying to do something good. I think it would be a net benefit, even if he's like a quack, if he was able to pass something that basically restricted the amount of high glucose corn syrup, the amount of high amounts of sugar, the amount of high amounts of salt that are present in a lot of foods, especially processed foods. If he was able to do that successfully in a way that was going to actually improve the general health of Americans, that's a net benefit, even if he's a very shitty person. But the problem is, on one end, you have people who speak and say that these are our ideas, are our goals, or, you know, you have faux populists like Donald Trump who say that he actually cares about the working class, and their, you know, proclamations versus what they actually implement are dramatically different. That's the entire reason it's faux populism and not populism. He will put forth a lot of policies in which he says, yeah, I care about the workers, I care about the working class, and then he will give tax breaks to the richest and most powerful corporations that are going to benefit the extreme wealthy. If it comes to RFK Jr., do I think that he's going to be able to butt heads with some of the most powerful lobbyists and food conglomerate and corporations in American, you know, the suppliers of the majority of American food come down to like 11 multinational corporations that are unbelievably powerful. So is he suddenly going to be able to hold them to account? Or is this something in which maybe it's going to become an issue of calorie ratioing or you know, tax incentives for those who have enough free time to exercise to X amount of hours a day and demonstrate on a Fitbit or something similar to that like certain companies have tried to implement, where it just starts to become kind of a dystopian corporate hellscape where they track your heart rate and monitor how many steps you do every day in order to make sure that you're losing the proper amount of weight to get the tax cut or tax exemption. You know, is it going to be more that direction than it is going to be him actually holding these terrible companies accountable? Unfortunately, I haven't seen anything, especially from, you know, the Republicans or MAGA, that indicates they're ever going to hold the most powerful accountable in any way.
These good policies, are they bad policies? Are they policies that if we promote, will it expose these people's failure to do this stuff and hurt their electoral chances or whatnot? Because, I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, never for a moment do I think that Kennedy is going to do these things, A, and B, never for a moment do I think that he's going to be a net positive. And so there's like a nuance in there, but that's not what is happening. That's not what we're seeing. And so, like, that's it. That, you know, that's it. As far as like the grifting, like,
see, Ubisoft, thanks, Bar. Thanks. I'm looking for just one match, and you killed this game because you're shit. You're dog shit. It's fucking horse shit.
That bugged me more.
And
I would just say
every kind of shit
delineation between TYT and what Fox News does. Fox News, October 9th, progressive journalist unleashes on liberal intolerance that drove her away from the Democratic Party. They fed that machine. So if now's the time for recrimination, fine. Let's
thanks for the match.
Let's actually
guess what? I'll give Ubisoft San Francisco the thanks. But the whole board,
propaganda about immigrants and
international,
in
eat a
October
fucking
2024.
pile of dog
maybe
shit
there is,
and
maybe
choke
some,
on it
grading that
and
needs
fuck
to be
your
done
mother.
here. And I'll be honest, I sleep pretty well. I don't know about how, like, if I was on Fox News talking about how intolerant the left was a month before the election, how good I'd sleep. But maybe it would work for them.
And the left is not online people that are pissing you off. The left, and what I think, you know, we're trying to do is give a voice to activists, to unions, to people who are doing work, to folks like Astra Taylor. I mean, all of these people who have dedicated their lives to trying to make people's lives better, they know intimately what the challenges are, and so, like, we're going to question those things, but we're going to be a vessel for that as well. So, like, it's so media focused. You know, no media company, no show is the left, and I think it's ridiculous to claim that that's the case. And, like, you know, to say
we're fucking entertainers. Yeah, some are better than others. Some actually care. Some clearly want a platform and help people who don't have voices, and, you know, movements, causes, recommendations, stuff like that. But we're entertainers.
Fundraise from their audience, and a lot of the core proposition was to combat Trump, you know, who then ended up getting elected. And I remember the journalists that were being hired as I was reporting on the inauguration down in DC, and this was like, okay, as a part of this company, we're going to be resistance and we're going to fight Donald Trump. And then to to turn around and basically roll over on your belly or roll over on your back and show your belly to Elon Musk and be like, hey, we can work together on this, even if it is to say, you know, what you're saying, Sam, to call out his hypocrisy. I do think it's a betrayal of the core brand proposition, and frankly, for the millions that were fundraised from an audience that cared about this kind of thing.
But I mean, look, you know, as far as that part of it, I don't have much interest in getting into that. But again, I will just say, for the last time, and you know, when you address, you know, when a show, any show for that matter, it comes to our attention, if they are promoting some type of like fundamental mistruth, and we think it's helpful to use that show as an example of what the actual reality is, we will not hesitate to use those clips or talk about it. But I don't.
By the way, it's not just drama farming. I hope people understand that. Like, there's one thing that I've learned over the years is that I can make a video on an issue, say like land back, and I can talk about it, and I can really be like, hey, here's the things I want to advocate for. I'm going to bring in the land back activists. Here's Brandon Warren for an interview, and that gets like, you know, a couple thousand views on YouTube. The algorithm doesn't give two fucks about it.
Hey, Matt,
If I criticize Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh go real racist towards indigenous people, and then, you know, put in that video the same kind of talking points and the same, by the way, if you want more information on this, you can check out land back organizations. The following lists are inside the description of the video. Go check it out. It's going to get tens of thousands of views. Tens of thousands more people are going to watch that video specifically because they want to see, oh, Lance is now going to rip into fucking Charlie Kirk and his enormous cranium, and then he's going to rip into Matt Walsh and all this fucking weird ass shit. And then they're going to get the same information. They're going to get the same, hopefully, education at the end of it. But it's not only because I'm just like, well, you know, I love the slop, and I'm just I do love the slop. We do feast upon the slop. But I'm saying that there could be a purpose to it, and that's why I think that there is like some people who are far more consistent in those spaces who do kind of like try and advocate and do work outside of it. Like, if you are just basically 24/7 drama channel, that's all you do, that's all you care about. None of your coverage is usually related to any kind of world events, geopolitics, anything like that. It's basically like, hey, today we're going to turn it on and I'm going to start a fight with Creator Y. And then when they don't respond to me, or if they do respond to me, then we're going to debate. And then after we debate, I'm going to start another fight with Creator B. And then if they do respond to me, fantastic. If they don't, well, then I'm going to move on to Creator C. Oh, I pissed off Creator C real good. All right, they want to come on the stream. Now we're going to debate. We're going to have some fun and some more fireworks. And oh, look at my view count goes like this the whole time. And it's exciting and what a roller coaster. But like at the end of the day, there's not going to be really much like substance behind it, you know? Yeah, I know. We'll have to bow before the Lord and Savior that is the algorithm.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This independent series is made entirely possible thanks to our patrons. It was produced by Annalise Riley, Arian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez.
Want to take photos as well? All right, let's do it.
Sorry for questioning you, but I'm sure.
What? No, I'm used to it.
I guess the thing I was talking a little bit about was, you know, I know you're not a fan of, I'm not a fan of him either, but, you know.
Oh my god, DGG in the UK is it's probably the only place besides the shit Destiny, or maybe Israel, because you love genocide, Destiny, and your fucking cronies love genocide too. You should piss off and get the fuck away from Hassan, and I should push you in a headlock so your head fucking pops off. Fuck you.
Richie Torres sent a big letter, but
oh god.
But in particular,
I can't watch Destiny fans. They're fucking more. I hope they all.
RIP XDefiant. Yesterday, both Mark Rubin and the official XDefiant Twitter account shared this post saying, "Hello XDefiant fans. I am unfortunately here today to announce that XDefiant will be shutting down. Starting today, December 3rd, 2024, new downloads and player registrations will no longer be available. We will still release our Season 3 content in the near future. The exact date is TBD, and the servers will remain active until June 3rd, 2025. For those who purchased the Ultimate Founders Pack, you'll receive a full refund. Players who made any purchases within the last 30 days will also be fully refunded. Those refunds should happen automatically within 8 weeks of today. You can find more details on our official website, XDefiant.com. A few years ago, Ubisoft and the San Francisco dev team embarked on a bold adventure to develop a new arcade shooter called XDefiant. It was from the start an incredible challenge. Not only were we trying to shake up the genre by removing skill-based matchmaking while bringing back a more old-school arcade shooter experience, but we were also diving into the high-risk, high-reward realm of free-to-play. And for that, I want to applaud not only the dev team, but also Ubisoft leadership for taking that chance. Free-to-play, in particular, is a long journey. Many free-to-play games take a long time to find their footing and become profitable. It's a long journey that Ubisoft and the teams working on the game were prepared to make until very recently. But unfortunately, the journey became too much to sensibly continue. I am, of course, heartbroken to have to be writing this post. Yes, this game has been a personal passion for me for years, and yes, I know that not all challenges lead to victory, but I also want to recognize all of the developers who are being affected by this closure. Each and every one of them is a real person with a real life separate from our own, and they have all put so much of their own passion into making this game, and I hope that they can be proud of what they did achieve. I know that I will always be proud and grateful to have worked with such a great team, a team that really punched above its weight class. And what they achieved is truly remarkable. The early response from players when XDefiant launched was amazing. We broke internal records for the fastest game to surpass 5 million users, and in the end, we had over 15 million players play our game. That is something to be extremely proud of, especially considering how tough this genre is. So thank you to all of the developers who put their passion into making this game. If there's one thing I hope we can all take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest communication between developers and players. This player-first mentality, along with respectful, non-toxic conversations between developers and players, has been one of the standout experiences that made XDefiant so special. From my very first post about XDefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion, and I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the game industry treats its players and communities. To our players, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible community that has grown around XDefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication have inspired us every step of the way. With the utmost of love and respect, Mark. Now, even though that was Mark Rubin's statements, that's not the only official statement that was made about XDefiant. Hopefully, I'm not going to absolutely butcher his name, but the CEO of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot, also shared an internal memo about the closure of XDefiant and the future of Ubisoft. He had said, "Hello, everyone. It is also shared an internal the way with the utmost of love and respect, Mark." Now, even though that was Mark Rubin's statements, that's not the only official statement that was made about XDefiant. Hopefully, I'm not going to absolutely butcher his name, but the CEO of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot also shared an internal memo about the closure of XDefiant and the future of Ubisoft. He had said, "Hello, everyone. It has been some time since I last spoke to you, and I apologize for the silence, especially as the past months have been challenging, especially as the past months." CEO of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot, also shared an internal memo about the closure of XDefiant and the future of Ubisoft. He had said, "Hello everyone, it has been some time since I last spoke to you, and I apologize for the silence, especially as the past months have been challenging and unsettling for Ubisoft and likely for each of you." The announcement by Marie-Sophie regarding the discontinuation of XDefiant, the closure of the San Francisco and Osaka studios, and the ramp down of the Sydney production site is among the difficult decisions we've had to make. I want to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the tremendous work done by the XDefiant teams. Their goal was to challenge the best shooter on the market, but despite the intensity of their efforts, it was not enough. To everyone leaving Ubisoft, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the work you have accomplished and the contributions you have made. We will do everything possible to provide you with the best support during this transition phase. We wanted to take a firm and clear decision to enable us to concentrate our investments and forces on more profitable projects. Now, there is more to his statement, and if you want to see the full statements, I'll have links in the description below to everything. But beyond what I just read, his statement doesn't really dive more into XDefiant. However, this internal memo and this statement from Marie-Sophie kind of paints a more clear picture. She had said, "Hello all, today I wanted to share with you that we've made the difficult decision to discontinue development on XDefiant. Despite an encouraging start, the team's passionate work, and a committed fan base, we've not been able to attract and retain enough players in the long run to compete at the level we aim for in the very demanding free-to-play FPS market. As a result, the game is too far away from reaching the results required to enable further significant investment, and we are announcing that we will be sunsetting it. Again, new downloads of the game, new player registrations, and purchases will no longer be available. However, Season 3 will still launch for the game, and the servers will still be online until June 3rd, 2025. She also goes on to mention that their studios in San Francisco and Osaka will also be shutting down, and roughly 200 to 300 people will be laid off as a result of this shutdown. She goes on to say that developing games as a service experiences remains a pillar of their strategy, and that they've achieved significant successes with Rainbow Six, The Crew, and For Honor, among others. It's a highly competitive market, and they will apply the lessons learned with XDefiant to other future live titles. Now, while I do want to share my thoughts on why I think XDefiant is being shut down, it's pretty clear that they know exactly why, and those other statements from Ubisoft CEO, as well as Marie-Sophie, I feel like paint a more clear picture as to why XDefiant was shut down, which is specifically the fact that the game is free to play and also simultaneously doesn't have enough players to sustain the game in the long term, which is kind of surprising because a free to play game really shouldn't have too many issues with getting players on the game and actually playing. But as we go over my points and I share my thoughts as to why I feel like XDefiant didn't succeed and ultimately why it's being shut down, we'll get there. And we'll be able to more deeply explore why XDefiant didn't succeed the way that I feel like a lot of us wanted it to. So first and foremost, it's really hard to ignore the elephant in the room, which is Ubisoft in this case. There's been a lot of layoffs this year, a lot of projects that didn't work out, and they were even potentially going to be bought out by Tencent. Although a buyout from Tencent is currently just a rumor, but they did publicly respond to it. Overall, it is just worth mentioning though that there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on with Ubisoft, and it clearly is affecting XDefiant as well. But ultimately, I do want to shift the focus back to the actual game itself. I want to talk about XDefiant because this is a game that was being labeled the Call of Duty killer, and they even mentioned in their own memos that they were going up against Call of Duty specifically with this project, which meant that they had to be better. XDefiant was going to have to be bigger and better and bolder and more successful than Call of Duty, which is a very, very difficult task. And I will say this, I had a lot of fun playing XDefiant, and it gave me glimpses of older, simpler times on the older Call of Duty games, but it wasn't perfect by any means. And ultimately, I can point to 5 big reasons why the game was held back, at least in my opinion. The first big issue is probably one of the most talked about issues, and almost anyone who actually downloaded and played XDefiant most likely ran into this. It was the netcode issues. Ironically enough, it's currently plaguing Black Ops 6's multiplayer and Warzone as well, but it's those issues like having desync and ghost bullets where you're shooting someone but it's not actually registering and you're not getting the damage off, you're not actually killing people. It leads to a very frustrating and overall
Hey, Matt C, I just want to say I love you, man. Thank you for commenting. I don't know where you are right now, be anywhere, but you are. I don't have a lot of friends, so if you want to be my best friend,
Gaming experience, and people just don't really enjoy that. Now, I will admit, the last couple of times I played XDefiant over the last few months, the game's netcode did get significantly better, and the game itself was feeling better, but a lot of people would argue that it took way too long for the netcode issues to get fixed, which is also a point we're going to talk about later. The second reason is that some people just simply don't like the specialist style gameplay. Now, for someone like me who actually really enjoyed specialists in Black Ops 3 and saw them as a fun and dynamic way to expand upon the existing gameplay, the existing Call of Duty formula, I enjoyed the abilities in XDefiant. I thought they were fun. They were, somewhat unique. Obviously, some of them are very similar to things that we've had in Call of Duty games, but still, it takes the base gameplay and it adds another layer on top of it. It's dynamic. I thought it was fun, and there was a ton of potential to add a bunch of new, unique, and dynamic specialists later on in the game's lifecycle because XDefiant was pulling all of this stuff from existing Ubisoft titles, an existing Ubisoft game.
Hey, so if anyone's watching right now, I can't comment on anyone because I sent someone something too mean. For 24 hours, I can't say shit to anyone on YouTube. This happens to me all the time. Like, seriously, on every platform. And I'm never saying anything from like a shitty, hateful point of view. It's always from a progressive, like non-bigoted, like, you know what, fuck whatever I'm saying right now. Right wing's protected in social media today, despite the lies that they'll say that like the right wing is censored. It's a lie. I'm living proof. I should get censored all the time. More than the right wingers. I get censored for shitting on right wingers. Fuck social media. Fuck X. Everything today, man. Fuck Ubisoft. Fuck the world. FTW. Peace and love. Hopefully things get better.
But even though I personally really enjoy this style of gameplay, I know that there's a lot of people out there that absolutely do not enjoy it. They don't have fun with specialists, and they just want the game to be focused on gun-on-gun action. I totally get that. One way that the XDefiant team could have remedied this problem and remedied this situation for those types of players is by having some kind of mosh pit playlist where all of the specialist abilities and stuff like that would have been completely disabled and turned off. And this was something that was talked about for years before the game even fully released. It was talked about during the betas, and I think they might have even acknowledged it, but they just never actually put it in the game. Which takes me to my third point, which was over-promising features but being too slow to deliver them. And just so we're clear, I've just been kind of listing off issues, and there's no particular order for these, but I feel like this is probably one of the biggest pain points of XDefiant for sure. There was so much talk about adding new mastery camos and adding a prestige mode, adding kill cams, adding this, adding that, and ultimately, a lot of these things just never ended up happening. And it does start to become a problem when you overpromise things like this to the community and then you can't deliver on them in time. And don't get me wrong, man, I love Mark Rubin. He's so transparent and he was communicating with so many different people. And I really do feel like he wanted to listen to everyone and give everyone these amazing features that they were requesting themselves. But at some point, I feel like it was probably just too much. There were too many features that people were asking for, and they, in essence, agreed to do all these things, but they could not get them out fast enough. And ultimately, that's just kind of a bummer because people get excited for these things, they get hyped, and they can't wait to see these things come to the game, but then they ultimately never come around. And that can put a real damper on people's excitement and enjoyment of the game. The fourth thing I want to talk about is the progression system in XDefiant. I feel like it was too slow for what you would ultimately get. Whether you were just trying to level up your weapons to get attachments or even push them further and get the mastery camos in the game, it was just too slow and tedious of a process. And honestly, it was pretty strange that they had so many back and forth changes of, speeding up progression and speeding up weapon XP and mastery camo unlocks and then slowing it down and then speeding it back up. It really felt like they didn't know where to have the progression system's rates at in XDefiant. And from the player's perspective, it just felt like ranking up your weapons and getting these camos was happening at too slow of a rate, even after all the adjustments that they made. And the fifth and final reason why I personally feel like XDefiant was being held back was actually the release timing of the game and also the platform that it was released on. They could have handled the situation much, much better, but they didn't. You guys have probably heard a lot of people, including myself, talk about the fact that XDefiant should have really been released around the time of Modern Warfare 2, because Infinity Ward was not listening to community feedback, the gameplay was slow, it was really boring in multiplayer, and that would have been the prime moments, the prime time for XDefiant to be released. They had a specific window when Call of Duty was at a really weak point, and that would have been the perfect moment for XDefiant to capitalize. But unfortunately, the game was not ready at that point. And I do think there's a pretty good chance that if XDefiant would have released in an even more unfinished state before it was, you know, finally released to the public, there's a pretty good chance that the game would have been shut down and died even faster than it just did now. But in hindsight, it just kind of sucks because that was a really good window of opportunity, and I feel like XDefiant would have had a better fighting chance if it was released around that time. On top of that as well, XDefiant did not release on PS4 or Xbox One, which has a massive market, and if the game was free to play, there could have potentially been even more people getting on the game and playing it every single day, but unfortunately they did not release the game on last gen. XDefiant was, however, still free to play on PS5 and Xbox Series X, so that was really good. However, on PC though, the game was only available to download through Ubisoft's launcher. You could not get it through Steam, you couldn't get it through Epic, you couldn't get it anywhere else, and I feel like that was a big strategic mistake. Steam has the largest pool of the entire PC player base, and to not tap into that, especially with a free-to-play game, is just kind of insanity. And I know that I and a lot of other people relayed this information to them, and again, I don't know why they didn't decide to do this, but this could have been a pivotal moment, a pivotal decision that could have really saved this game. But yes, those are my 5 big main reasons as to why I feel like XDefiant didn't really come to fruition and why the game did not succeed. But finally, we do have to consider how competitive the gaming space is nowadays. And I'm not talking about esports or even skill-based matchmaking. I'm talking about competition amongst the devs and publishers. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, and as I'm sure you guys are aware, XDefiant was being labeled by the gaming communities as the Call of Duty killer. And with that in mind, XDefiant was always going to have a massive uphill battle going up against Call of Duty, especially because they rapidly changed pace with Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6, at least specifically talking about multiplayer. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if XDefiant was released around the time of Modern Warfare 2, they would have just had a much better public perception of the game, and it would have just been a little bit easier for them, because Modern Warfare 2, Infinity Ward was not doing anything to try to improve their own situation and improve the game for the players. Meanwhile, over there at XDefiant, they were doing the exact opposite. They were listening to players, they wanted to implement features, they wanted the community to work hand in hand with the devs to make the best possible game. And even though people will joke around and say that XDefiant was never really the COD killer and that it was never really competition to Call of Duty, it clearly was, because the mission and the overall objective and goal of what XDefiant was going to offer is what really got Call of Duty to ramp up their efforts specifically towards Call of Duty multiplayer. Say what you will about Modern Warfare 3 and even potentially Black Ops 6's multiplayer, but these devs are really trying. They are listening to community feedback. They're constantly making changes. I mean, even at the time of recording this video, they just shared some massive Season 1 Reloaded patch notes before the season is even out. And I think overall, we need to just acknowledge how competitive the gaming space is getting. I do personally feel like Call of Duty's recent efforts to ramp up support for multiplayer and giving us all of these patch notes, doing all these different things, I feel like this is a direct result of XDefiant's existence. And honestly, it's a massive bummer to see this game shutting down, because it felt like they were really getting Call of Duty to get things in gear and start caring about the game again. But since XDefiant is going to be shutting down next year, that competition is now gone, and I just kind of hope that as a result of this, Call of Duty games will still continue to push to be the best that they possibly can be. Because now that XDefiant is shutting down, and especially since Microsoft and Xbox own Halo and Call of Duty, they might feel like the competition is not really there and that they don't have to try as hard, or that they don't need to actually listen to the players' feedback. So yeah, XDefiant shutting down is obviously terrible for the XDefiant community and the players who want to play that game, but it could also have a really negative rippling effect on other FPS games and other games in general, especially because the legend himself, Mark Rubin, cares so much about the players and the communities. And again, massive shout out and massive thanks to Mark Rubin and all of the people who worked on XDefiant, the entire team. They did an incredible job. They tried their best and they tried to make XDefiant the best game that they possibly could, and I do wish them all the best of luck going forward with whatever project they work on next. Again, guys, we have to keep in mind that these are actual hardworking people and it's their job to make these games, and a lot of people who worked really hard and actually cared about this game in the community just lost their jobs too. This has also been a really unfortunate recurring theme that's been happening a lot in the last couple of years or so, of teams working really hard on projects ultimately to have their project shut down and then they lose their jobs, and it just sucks. And I really, really do wish them all the best going forward. And with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did and you want to see some more stuff like this, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys later.
Come. Train going.
We're obviously going to start by talking about South Korea and the South Korean president declaring martial law. Let me tell you something, okay? I was on the plane when this was popping, and I thought it was hilarious. Good on them, dude. They're doing the most out there in South Korea. They got a lot going on for them. They got an incel president. Incel president has a wife. He's a big wife guy. Loses the parliament. Doesn't like that he lost the parliament, especially because now parliament is coming after his wife. He's a big wife guy. He has to do what he has to do. Now, let me tell you something. I'm no expert in Korean politics. I don't fully comprehend the system. I don't know the parties. I don't really get it, okay? But I will give you my basic understanding of Korean politics. I know a little bit of Korean history from the Korean War. What I do know is Neo-Confucianism and its devastating impact in Korean politics, in contemporary Korean politics, in contemporary Korean culture, and how it factors into gacha games and the way that the Korean incel army has engaged a lot of Gamergate style tactics. What I know is a couple things. One, Korea is a hyper-capitalist dystopia with a higher suicide rate than even Japan. 2, cost of living is very unaffordable. 3, massive gender wars happening in Korea. 4, they have a parliamentary system, but they ended up, almost every single one of their leaders have been corrupt. They love doing corruption, and it's the funniest type of corruption usually. Not like the regular, this chaebol runs the country and decided to like sue the state because there was a new Samsung TV coming out and they wanted to make it a national holiday or something. Like that stuff is regular. That happens all the time. But like the type of corruption that they also engage in is like they get their dumb sons and daughters into school, and then their dumb sons and daughters go to these like prestigious schools, but they also don't end up actually showing up to class or whatever. And that's like that's the big thing. Like it's like truancy. Yeah. It's not sometimes it's cheating scandals, sometimes it's truancy scandals. It's pretty funny that like that is the major killer of all Korean politics. But yeah, or the president's in a cult. I mean, which president isn't in a cult? You know what I mean? There is that part too. But yeah, every single one of these guys, they seemingly haven't been able to. My point is, Koreans can't catch a break, dude. These guys used to live in a military dictatorship. Then the military dictatorship turned into three chaebols in a trench coat, and now every single time they elect a new leader, they just get punished for doing corruption or being a freak. And now here we are, the latest and greatest in that same saga. Korean goon.
I declare martial law to protect the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces, to eradicate the despicable pro-North Korean anti-state forces that are plundering the freedom and happiness of our people, and to protect the free constitutional order.
That's right. South Korea, big problem with communism. Everybody knows how big the problem with communism is. Understand that this is just like every fascist's rallying call. Every fascist rallying cry is like, oh, I'm here to, defeat the anti-democratic communist forces by doing martial law and killing a bunch of people. And like, if you know a little bit about Korean history, you know that is exactly how they used to operate. And they would just like kill a shit ton, Jakarta method style. They would basically just kill a shit ton of people who were like trade unionists, feminists, anyone who was like anti-government in any meaningful fashion. They would just like murk them to be like, oh, you're a communist, you're a sympathizer. And America basically oversaw that and thought it was awesome. So really cool that South Korea's last president is trying to bring that back in a big way.
Through this martial law, I will rebuild and protect the Free Republic of Korea, which is falling into the abyss of national ruin. To this end, I will definitely eradicate the anti-state forces who are the main culprit of the country's ruination and conduct vicious activities.
It's pretty funny because like it's just far right versus liberal right, as far as I understand. It's not like there's any sort of real communism happening, and it's just a bullshit excuse. And it's basically just like a consortium of like Korean women who are like, hey, maybe you shouldn't kill us. Like that would be nice. That's communism. And then a bunch of people who are like kind of neoliberal and will at least say that they want to like eliminate corruption or something, and then that's treated as communism in this perspective. But I guess the reality is like nobody thinks that there's real communism happening in South Korea. He's just using that because he thinks like that will be successful at getting dumbasses on board. Having said that, interestingly enough, the Korean trade union movements they're pretty strong, and Koreans also love to party. They love to riot. They are very French in that regard. I suspect that there will be some labor actions that come out of this, so we'll see. No, there already is. There you go. The Korean Confederation of Trade Unions will begin an indefinite general strike tomorrow, demanding an immediate resignation of President Yoon Suk Yeol, President Goon. I'm with him. I think we need more wife guys in power. I think what he did for his wife, and a lot of y'all don't understand that because you're incels. He's not. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was illegal to love your wife and defend her from corruption charges because she has expensive taste. Sorry, my bad, okay?
The television channel shows a popular chat show. The mood is as soft as the furnishings. Until the president breaks into the evening schedule and spoils it with a national address that shocks the nation.
친애하는 국민 여러분.
President Yoon declares martial law, putting the military in charge. He blames pro-North Korean opposition parties who make up the majority in parliament and who've been blocking his legislation, including a budget.
Yeah, his opposition parties are all North Korean in nature. That's awesome. I do find it really interesting how bad things are getting. I will say it is an interesting predicament. It almost feels like neoliberalism on overdrive for the past 3-4 decades now, without any sort of serious contender, ideological, on the global stage. We have arrived at this capitalism supercharged moment where there's a lot of spearheaded, there's a lot of, movement in the direction of fascism. If you have been dominated by America, you're already relatively reactionary. You already have sometimes fundamentalist leadership. And if you're in the sphere of influence of America, you slowly but surely have revitalized your nascent fascist movements. Meanwhile, of course, America is doing that too. Fascist South Korea is preferable on the border of China to the U.S. empire? Yes. I mean, that's not a stretch. That's just history. What you're describing is literally history. That is what happened. Like, people think Korea was always this shining beacon, the Japan of the 90s. It wasn't. It sucked. It was a military dictatorship, and America kept it that way because it suited its political purposes in the region.
Parliament in this building should now be suspended, but it's also the only body that can overrule the president and his martial law by voting against him. Cue a midnight dash for Parliament. First, the army. Heavily armed soldiers enter the back doors of the building. Others take a more direct route, and some need a little extra help. But opposition leaders have also summoned lawmakers and supporters to the National Assembly. This party boss...
Bro, the Korean incel guy is such a loser, by the way. Truly remarkable, truly shocking to me. He was so bad at doing a coup that he couldn't even bring out the special military units fast enough. How do you fuck it up so bad? How do you do a coup where these old ass motherfuckers can just jump over the barrier, and before you even protect the parliament, you allow these goddamn libtards that jump over the barrier and come in and vote against your coup? It's fucked up. It makes no sense, dude. He got 100% disapproval rating. That's crazy. Everybody was like, no, dog, your shit sucks. 190 votes. Motherfuckers climbed the barrier of the parliamentary wall so they could go in, and then their nerd staffers were literally pushing back the special forces and stopping them from entering the parliament to push out any of these people, to push out the people. And then they took it to a goddamn vote. And honestly, liberalism won, okay? Turns out you can vote away fascism, it seems, at least so far. Anyway, we got a lot of crazy footage. This lady who is a lawmaker who literally grabs the weapon. This is dude, going for the service weapon of an officer type is kind of crazy. She's literally give me the gun. Guys, you misunderstand. Koreans don't have guns, so they don't know what it is. They just don't know what it is. That's what it is. That's the problem. That's why they don't understand it's deadly to do that. This kind of stuff is so sick, but I'm always worried that I'm going to hype up some lady, and then a week later, I'm going to find out that she's a psycho. You know what I mean? Half the time, whenever you see stuff like this, you'll be like, oh, look at this massive protest. And then you find out they think it's illegal to even have gay thoughts or something. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying this lady's like that, but it happens quite frequently in international politics. She's the descendant of an independence activist against Japanese imperialism and graduated from Eha Women's University that led the impeachment of the former President Park Geun-hye. Okay, well, I dig that the grandpa was an independence activist and Japan calls him a terrorist. She is on Guoryang. She's part of the Democratic Party, which is known to be very centrist, but labeled as extreme leftism. Yeah, Korean politics is awesome. That's why I'm laughing. Like the goddamn incel president is like, yo, these guys are doing North Korean style communism here. They want to do Jusha. And the Jusha is like child tax credits. The Jusha is like, hey, why don't we actually not make it a 70-hour work week? I think we should keep it at the reasonable 67 it was at, sir. And then he's like, oh, that's the most communist thing I've ever heard in my life. Also, I'm f***ing up the numbers, but it's not even a joke. That's literally what happened. Like, I'm exaggerating on the numbers, but like, that's what the president literally did. So that's not even a joke. It's crazy. They'd be like, can the unions get weekends off? They're like, this is the most extreme leftist position we've ever heard in our lives. What the fuck are you saying? It's you want Jusha style self-reliant North Korean communism. We will not allow it. I mean, this is bad as fuck, dude. She's a bad for this. This is crazy. Also, what is up with the North Korean Special Forces, man? What is up with the North Korean Special Forces? I mean, as much as I respect them for having trigger discipline and not like unleashing hell upon this civilian population, half of them are congresspersons or whatever. I said North Korea, my bad. Yeah, this is wishful thinking. Sorry. Yeah, South Korean Special Forces are just like, what's happening here? I've never seen people get pushed over so much with this much gear. It's kind of wild. That's crazy, though. That's crazy. She just went for it, dude. Respect. She went for the service weapon. I love that so much. That's Aura. Speaking of Aura, this is not the motherfucker that got stabbed in the neck, is it? Is this the guy who got stabbed on the neck like a week ago or some shit? Like it wasn't that long ago. Not a week ago, but like he got stabbed in the neck like 2 months ago. And this motherfucker is already at it again. A year ago? God, time moves fast. I thought it was like a couple months ago. Okay, whatever. He got stabbed in the neck a year ago and he's back to his old ways. Look what this man does here. It's awesome.
Live streamed himself being chauffeured to Parliament before clambering over the gate.
Yeah, he didn't just live stream himself getting chauffeured to the Parliament. He live streamed himself breaking into the Parliament and jumping over the gate.
Inside.
There is nothing funnier than that, dude. I love that. That's so awesome. And guess which platform they couldn't do any of that on? Twitch.tv, because Twitch Korea is now gone. Imagine the content that would be on Twitch right now if Twitch Korea still remained, dude.
MPs and journalists scrambled to get to the chamber. Outside the gates, the scuffles continue in a cloud of tear gas and a flash of cameras. Here, a member of parliament is seen grabbing a soldier's gun, shouting, "Are you not ashamed?" Others remember the last time martial law was imposed in this country, before South Korea shook off military dictatorship to become one of the most prosperous and vibrant democracies in Asia. And what happens in South Korea has...
No disrespect. This is not like shitting on South Korea at all. I just don't think America has a vibrant democracy either. It is funny, though, when people are like, oh, you don't understand. South Korea, this vibrant democracy. Like, the only reason why they're saying that is so they can compare it to North Korea, which is bad, right? Like, who the in the Western world has their shit in order at this point? I'm serious. I'm not even kidding about this. Like, we have fascists everywhere, dude. Oh, sucks.
Repercussions well beyond its borders. A short missile's flight away from Seoul is North Korea, where dictator Kim Jong-un rules his nuclear-armed dystopia with the constant threat of invasion of the South, now in political turmoil. There to stop the North from trying it on are 29,000 US troops in one of the biggest American bases overseas. They've been here since 1953, the end of the Korean War. What will happen to them after President Trump takes office? One of the many questions with regional implications. Back to tonight, back to Parliament. As the standoff continues, the opposition parliamentarians who've made it into the building vote against the martial law. The result is 100.
I also don't understand it. It's like, why do we have so many troops and so much money that we're spending overseas that we have no control? Like, when this motherfucker pulls this shit off, one phone call, dude. Hey, President Goon, let me tell you something. Stand the fuck down. Fuck you mean you're doing martial law? Stand down. I got 29,000 brave U.S. military Marines right there, ready to let it rip. What the fuck is this shit?
90 to 0. The remaining 110 MPs who belong to the President's People's Party did not show up to vote. Many of them, by the way, were also against the imposition of martial law. In the dead of night, the soldiers are filmed returning to barracks. If the coup is indeed over, it lasted 2 hours and 48 minutes, half an hour longer than Parasite, Korea's Oscar-winning film, and almost as soon.
Oh, that's up. You can't be comparing it to Korean works, man. That's crazy. That's up. Respect, though. Where's that thread? But yeah, he declared martial law. First declaration of martial law since 1979, which was followed by Guanlu uprising in the following year. President Yoon ordered a complete shutdown of the National Assembly, but he failed to do so. Opposition Democratic Party urgently summoned its members to the National Assembly. The speaker was headed to the National Assembly building. It was closed off by the police. They still went in. The ruling party also called for his representatives for an emergency caucus, and its leader criticizing the declaration of martial law as inappropriate. President Yoon Suk-yeol of South Korea declared martial law in the emergency briefing. Yoon said it was made to prevent the anti-state forces, specifically citing the opposition party and its followers as pro-North Korean leftist groups. Under the Constitution of the Republic of Korea, the president has the authority to declare martial law and prescribe its scope, rights, procedures, and duties of martial law commander through the Martial Law Act. First martial law was declared on October 21st, 1948. It was following the Yosu Sunshan incident. Since then, it has been misused as a means to seize and maintain power by dictatorial regimes. There were 12 emergency martial law declarations from 1948 to 1979, all under the dictatorship. Today, Yoon declared the country's 13th. According to the martial law decree, all political activities are strictly prohibited and media and publications will be controlled. However, the Korean population had a very different attitude about it, and they immediately took to the streets, and they went to the parliament. First, all the opposition parties were able to sneak into the parliament with enough numbers to actually get the sufficient number of seats. Then they voted against it. They voted to stop the martial law. The National Assembly passed the resolution request to lift the martial law with a unanimous approval from all 190 registered members. Although the National Assembly passed the resolution demanding the lifting of martial law, the presidential office maintained its silence. They were restricting press access. When the National Assembly demands lifting the martial law with the approval of a majority of its attending members, the president must lift it immediately. However, the situation became problematic since the presidential office was silent. Democratic Party revealed military planned to arrest Assembly Speaker and party leaders under martial law, reviewing possible insurrection charges. But the martial law was lifted, and President Yoon backed down. Now, what do you do after this? Do you say bygones be bygones? Do you just say, my bad? Do you just say, I'm a silly goof? I was just goofing. Chill. It's just memes, bro. In order to fully understand this, we have to go back to 720 AD. We have to go back to Neo-Confucianism, the Korean method of Confucianism that had a more rigorous approach to the hierarchical structure of Confucianism. And we have to talk about the Han River and how American Navy forced Korea into trade. Why does it come up every day now? Because it's very important. It's very important to understand. Civilians stopping a military vehicle. Oh, that's sick. They stopped armored vehicles. I can't believe you're celebrating the Korean January 6th. I mean, this isn't entirely like January 6th. It's like, oh, this was funny too. When the soldiers were coming up to the parliament building, one of the guys just redirects him. He just flips him, dude. This is amazing. He just goes, nope. Motherfucker didn't even put his phone down, dude. He literally has a phone in one hand. He just went, whoop. Yeah, get rotated, idiot. And then the old man comes in and is like, no, 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 stop. Dude, that's awesome.
Oh, hey, what's up, Couch Gamer? Are you still here? Now we are permanently stuck with Call of Duty and Battlefield. XDefiant was a brother for share. Air. Yo, sorry, I was spacing out. I'm on threads. Fucking telling Ubisoft to eat a fucking pile of fucking dog shit. Let's play. Peace and love. I appreciate you showing up. It absolutely was a breath of fresh air, man. Fuck Ubisoft in their fucking dumb butts. Yeah, but sorry, Couch Gamer, I was spacing out for a minute. I don't get a lot of viewers, so but tonight, because of my title, I think I'm getting a few. I appreciate you coming by. I'm not sure if you're still. Probably not. Well, peace and love, Couch Gamer. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're gaming on the couch as we speak. Peace and love. That's all I've been doing like for 2 days is talking shit on threads to both. I was watching Ethan Klein from the H3H3 podcast from talking shit about Hassan and Ubisoft for shutting this game down. It's like all I've been on. But whatever. It's giving me music somewhere. And I don't even play it. It's just a place. Well, peace and love, Couch Gamer. I like your name. If you ever show back up again, let's be friends.
Two words for the price of one, because the 2024. I mean, I get it. There's obvious reasons behind what Joe Biden did, but there's no denying the fact that pardoning his own son, Hunter Biden, looks ridiculous for a party that has been doing a 4-year song and dance about the fairness and impartiality of the Justice Department. But it also sets a pretty awful precedent just before Trump re-enters the White House, where he and his many family members, including his first buddy, may or may not bend some laws of their own. It kind of feels like Joe Biden just flicked a lit cigarette into a pile of rags and then drove off into the sunset.
You know what? Fuck this country.
And what? Why shouldn't I? Especially since he clearly said he would never do this. Now,
But he winked. He did a little bit of this.
yeah, we didn't see behind his back, but it's also, yeah, a politician lying. We are as shocked as you are. But this pardon didn't just piss off people on the right. Members of the Democratic Party were also pissed off because he just made everyone's job so much harder.
Yeah, this will be, I mean, this is one part of his legacy in addition to the election, but yeah, really just underlines why the Democratic Party's pitch in the 2024 election didn't really ring true to a lot of voters. Oh well. As for why he did this, it should be clear that he's probably a bit worried about the incoming administration, especially after members of their party have spent years going after his son, both for his many pornographic videos and photos which conservatives love to obsess over, oddly enough, and download and look at, perhaps masturbate too. We don't know.
We don't know.
But also for federal gun charges for lying about his drug use. As
Couch
well as
Gamer,
multiple
Matt
tax-related
C,
charges,
thank you
which
for your
he
comments.
pleaded guilty to early this year. He's a real piece of shit, this Hunter Biden.
He did definitely commit crimes and do a lot of drugs.
Real dirtbag.
And a lot of hookers, and committed, gun charges and tax evasion.
Well, listen, Hunter Biden was exercising his Second Amendment rights, like everyone in this country is entitled to do. And big government, the gun grabbers, and big government.
This is a big win for the NRA.
The gun grabbers of the Republican Party tried to lock him up for him, and it's just nice to see justice prevail for us.
His dad said, no way. In fact, here's your gun back.
Yeah, go dig it out of the trash can, the public trash can that you dropped it into when you felt like not having it anymore.
But yeah,
what a piece of shit.
God. Yeah.
But yeah, Biden, he's got a few weeks left on the job, and despite this move proving that certain people actually are above the law, and also helping the narrative that both parties are equally corrupt, which they're definitely both corrupt.
Yeah, not equally, but the narrative certainly can go that way when you have a giant news story like this.
Yeah, easy for someone to
interpret it however they want.
But yeah, Biden just said, fuck it, Jack, I'm old as hell. Nothing matters anymore. My legacy's already tarnished. What's another unforced scandal on the way out? Except when he said it,
What's another unforced scandal?
He like 1 or 2 words.
Yes. Also, bizarrely, Joe Biden was spotted leaving a bookstore over the weekend. And he appears to have purchased a copy of The 100 Years War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi.
A great book.
It is.
I highly recommend. I'm so glad. This is so baffling.
But it's...
I honestly feel missing. I don't get comments. Like, I know that my title is probably a bit much, or much some people's attention. But I apologize to the 2 people who actually commented on my dog shit stream. Thank you. It makes me feel like I'm not completely. Thank you.
For the sales of that book, which will give you an extended history of what has been going on in that region.
The author of that book, Rashid Khalidi, was on record being like, I cannot in good conscience vote for Joe Biden. So I guess he took that personally.
But yeah, him buying that book, being photographed with it also feeds into another American stereotype of only looking up information on something after you've destroyed it.
Or, let's be honest, it's more like that picture of Grimes walking around Santa Monica with the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah,
it's probably more.
I'm listening, I'm learning, I'm leaving space for the facts now.
Also, make sure you put in the newspaper that I'm reading this book.
A little late, Joe, but hey, we hope you learned something.
Anyway, resolution 242. Wow, auga.
Anyways, back to pardoning his son, which probably caused Marjorie Taylor Greene's blood pressure to spike so high that it blew the Apple Watch right off of her wrist.
You bitch!
But here is what Joe Biden said about the pardon. Joe Biden would never pardon his son, but Dark Brandon, well, that's a different story. No, he didn't actually say that. But he did say, in part, from the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. The charges in his cases came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. Then, a carefully negotiated plea deal, agreed to by the Department of Justice, unraveled in the courtroom, with a number of my political opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process. Had the plea deal held, it would have been a fair, reasonable resolution of Hunter's cases. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son. And that is wrong. Enough is enough. For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. Okay, they'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president can come to this decision. Okay, still, it's a very, very bad look. But this move isn't entirely unprecedented.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is like a long history of presidents from both parties pardoning people that they got dead to rights.
Oh, yeah, and members of their own family. NPR pointed out that Bill Clinton pardoned his half-brother, famously, and Trump pardoned Jared Kushner's father,
the new ambassador to France.
And so it's and not to mention, obviously, Trump pardoned a ton of people that were involved directly in the insurrection and in his administration that committed crimes while they were there. And we'll almost certainly pardon a lot of the actual participants in January 6th in the coming months. But yeah, it comes at just the worst possible time. I mean, for Biden, too, because he just lost an election where if Kamala had won, he probably wouldn't have to do this because he wouldn't have the threat of the Trump administration doing whatever they want to his son.
It's like, I don't know. I'm of two minds on this. Like, it's obviously it's ridiculous. But it's also, it's like, I think the idea that like, oh, now the Trump administration has carte blanche to do what they want, it's kind of silly. They were going to do whatever the fuck they wanted, regardless.
It just...
So I don't know if either one of you are new to this, but I wrote a song for Matt C and Couch Gamer. Matt C and Couch Gamer. If you don't dig 'em, you're a lamer. Matt C and Couch Gamer. If you don't know, you best ask somebody. That's what I had. Love you.
Gives them an excuse to fall back on.
Yeah, it definitely takes away from the Democrats' position of like moral superiority.
Nor does this protect Hunter Biden in any kind of 100%.
Like if anyone's watching, I will write and sing a song to you immediately.
They'll get on something else. It's never going away.
Yeah,
like.
But it is going to make things even more difficult for members of his party as the country heads directly into 4 years of Trump 2.0. Hunter Biden absolutely.
Woo! Look at that. Let's go. 9 kills, 30 deaths. I bet you all this game is so good.
Did all that shit. He
filmed it a lot of times.
Yeah,
Seriously, that was like the most embarrassing KD. Oh my God.
He was going through some serious drug abuse and mental health issues, but he broke a bunch of laws, and the president's political rivals pounced on it. That's just how things operate now.
Maybe next time we don't elect a president who has a very publicly
dysfunctional son. Yeah. But now, because of this move, you can definitely already feel those Trump pardons coming, with what you could safely assume will be very little pushback, because he can, like we said, point to this and be like, well, no matter how vile his pardons are, he's like, well, we all remember the Hunter Biden laptop. We all remember Hillary Clinton. And Joe Biden, he pardoned both of them. What? He pardoned Hillary Clinton? Yeah, he totally did. Don't look it up.
He did.
We are sure that you can already assume how Republicans reacted to the news. Just piercing screeches.
Yeah.
But with reactions from Democrats.
I'll be right back, actually. I gotta go grab
the New
something.
York Times.
I'm disappointed this was the decision that he landed on here. Representative Jason Crow, Democrat of Colorado, said of President Biden in an interview, he promised he would not do this. I think it will make it harder for us going forward when we talk about upholding democracy. Representative Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, Democrat of Washington, said the president's move offered proof of a two-tiered justice system that treated the wealthy and politically powerful differently from everyday Americans. Yes, the president made the wrong decision, she wrote on social media. No family should be above the law. In his own post on social media, Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat of Colorado, said Mr. Biden's decision put personal interest ahead of duty and further erodes Americans' faith that the justice system is fair and equal for all. President Biden's pardon of his son Hunter is, as the action of a loving father, understandable, but as the action of our nation's chief executive, unwise, Senator Peter Welch, Democrat of Vermont and a progressive, said in a statement. And Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, who headed Democrats' Senate campaign arm, called Mr. Biden's decision to pardon his son wrong. A president's family and allies shouldn't get special treatment, Mr. Peters said in a statement. This was an improper use of power. It erodes trust in our government, and it emboldens others to bend justice to suit their interests.
Yeah, and an article...
Nobody liked that. Everyone hated that.
An article over on ABC News indicated that nearly every Democrat who spoke to their reporter, quote, worried that Biden's pardon kicked the door open for Trump to protect people they predicted will be unworthy of pardons. And to fend off any prolonged fallout amid a broader makeover, even theoretical, some suggested that a robust announcement from party leaders could go a long way. Quote, it's not going to eliminate it because Biden is the president of the United States, a Democratic pollster said. But if Democrats ever hope to reinvent themselves in a post-Biden future, they're going to need to start by denouncing Biden now when it's hard, not in the future.
I got my cat
Really
something
that
super
hard?
special.
No, he's on the way out. I
And I
feel like
really
you
hope they
probably
like
could have won the fucking election if you denounced Biden while there was still a chance.
Yeah.
Denounce him now, it's like a little bit too late, but like it's something.
No,
He's not popular. People don't fucking like him.
Elliot, we're currently in the Goldilocks zone right now of denouncing Biden. It's only going to work right now.
Like, he is the reason Trump is going back into the White House. You denounce him, please. The faster you denounce this horrible, failed president, the quicker we can move past this shit and work on building something for the future. God damn it.
But also, this news has already helped to reset the news cycle after a weekend where Trump nominated an extremely dangerous person, Kash Patel, to run the FBI.
He made a cash call.
Yeah, where Kash Patel, he got that cash call and he will be focusing on retribution.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well as breaking up the agency from the top down and replacing everyone with Trump loyalists. His words. And for an idea of how bad of a pick this is, Trump tried to nominate Patel during his previous term, and Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, he thought the idea was so awful that he mentioned it in his book and said that Patel would get the job as FBI director, quote, over my dead body.
Yeah, there were a couple jobs I think they tried to put him in where everyone, the Trump loyalists,
I don't think my cats like him.
were like, absolutely fucking not. Are you insane?
Not only is this guy unqualified,
Give him some serious sniffs,
he's
but I'm not
also
sure.
kind of fucking nuts.
It's like putting Christopher Moltisanti in charge of the crew. Like,
This
yeah,
is
I
kind
mean,
of fun,
he's good
actually.
at
I
following
don't have the
Tony's
camera
orders
on him right now,
sometimes, but like,
they
you don't want him running
are
shit. The Sopranos.
Perplexed.
Yeah,
I usually just give him regular treats, but this is freeze-dried raw minnows.
Oz has an age as well.
Man, this might be the
But
next
anyways, how
level
about
for
some
them.
good news?
Hopefully.
At least it's
I
good
was
news
hoping,
temporarily. And it's only good news for us because it's bad news for Elon Musk.
Ooh.
Who was just denied for a second time his outrageously, obscenely large $56 billion pay package. And this comes by way of the infamous Delaware Court of Chancery.
Where you have to take your glove off and throw it on the ground.
That's right.
I think that freaked him out.
And a horn honk means it's time for a bathroom break.
Yeah, the judges still wear big old wigs.
Yes. And the
uh,
ducks carry briefcases.
And there's no indoor plumbing.
That's right.
You just shit in the floor.
All trials happen at night over candlelight.
That's right. And Stanley Kubrick has the world's biggest lens, a NASA lens, and he's filming the whole thing.
The Delaware Court of Chancery. Yeah, it looks like this is all because the judge is justifiably convinced that Elon Musk might have had some outsized influence on Tesla's board, among other things.
Oh, wait, we knew that already.
We can't help but assume that despite this, all of Elon Musk's problems will continue to just evaporate as we head into the next administration. So,
well, he's moved the company to Texas, or he's in the process of it, so this won't be a problem again. All the judges in Texas love him.
Yeah. And of course, his problems will continue to go away until he and Trump have that inevitable, epic falling out and become mortal enemies, which will be fun to watch.
He's really wearing the fuck out of his welcome already to an insane degree. He spent Thanksgiving
with him, and he has, what, 12 children of his own who he apparently did not spend Thanksgiving with.
Yeah, imagine having 12 kids and spending Thanksgiving with someone else's family. What a great dad.
Anyways, yeah.
I was talking to Barron about video games, and
I gave him a cool Diablo build that Grok came up for with me. Yeah, but look, small victories. In the meantime, it's probably pretty frustrating for him, so that means it's funny to us.
Yeah.
Here's the Wall Street Journal with more on this latest ruling.
The court's decision follows a shareholder vote earlier this year approving the pay package for a second time. Tesla had argued that the vote addressed many of the court's criticisms that Musk's compensation deal had been flawed, partly because of insufficient disclosures to shareholders. The judge, Chancellor Kathleen McCormick, had in January ordered the entire package be rescinded, saying directors were beholden to Musk and the approval process for the pay deal was tainted and lacked transparency. McCormick said in her latest opinion that she wasn't swayed by the second shareholder vote. Lawyers for Tesla and Musk got creative with their arguments to overturn her prior ruling, but ultimately their position wasn't backed up by legal precedent, she added. She also said there were no grounds to reverse a ruling based on evidence occurring after the trial's end, and that Tesla's disclosures to shareholders in June contained multiple material misstatements that made it ineffective.
Cool. Anyways, remember that heavy metal drummer Richard Turnetta, who played in a thrash band called Dawn of Correction and was the sole shareholder who brought the original lawsuit against Musk? Well, yeah, the article continues, adding that the judge additionally ruled on the award for the Tesla shareholder who brought the original suit, calling their request for $5.6 billion in legal fees a bold ask.
I had to try it, Your Honor.
in a case specifically about excessively high executive compensation. McCormick said the plaintiff, a Tesla shareholder named Richard Turnetta, was entitled to $345 million in either cash or Tesla shares.
Hey, that's, you know what? This is negotiation 101.
Yeah. Shoot for the moon.
You shoot for the moon, and they're like, well, there's no fucking chance I'm giving you that, but you've set a price.
Yeah.
And now...
How about a fraction of that, which is still more money than anyone will ever see in their life?
Good for him.
In 2018, Turnetta sued the company and several directors, claiming that Musk exercised undue influence over the creation of the pay package and that the board misled investors. Earlier this year, the Delaware court agreed. McCormick rescinded the entire pay package, now worth over $100 billion based on Monday's closing share price, ruling the process was unfair because Musk exerted undue control over the board. She called the multi-billion-dollar award an unfathomable sum. There you go.
Cool. Meanwhile, not that it matters much anymore, but Musk's social media platform X is in the midst of a massive exodus as users, like me, jump ship over to other platforms like BlueSky. Pretty much, for me, only BlueSky.
Yeah.
Which are so far a lot less toxic, a lot better for user engagement and interactions. It was obvious for quite a while, but Musk pretty much confirmed recently that posts on X that include links are throttled by the algorithm, resulting in less traffic
Anyone in the chat
who creates content and posts it
like me
anywhere else, like newspapers and newspaper journalists who post their articles on Twitter.
Content creators, anything like that. Yeah.
Last week, a power user on the platform called Paul Graham pointed this out and got a response from Musk. In his initial post, Graham said, "The deprioritization of tweets with links in them is Twitter's biggest flaw. It bothers me more than all the new right-wing trolls. Trolls I'm used to, but what draws me to Twitter is to find out what's going on, and you can't do that without links." And Musk replied, "Just write a description in the main post and put the link in the reply. This just stops lazy linking."
Okay, but this was never really a problem before. It wasn't something that people were clamoring about. The links were usually, if there was a link to an article or something, it was, or
the New York Times should be posting their articles.
Yeah, entirely. Yeah. With my 10,000 character limit by unlocking the power of Twitter Blue or whatever.
Yeah.
The links in the olden days of Twitter used to actually have a summary included because journalists or the outlets, that was part of the reason to get people to click, was a short summary that indicates what you'll be reading.
And yeah, this was also one of the main reasons Twitter succeeded in its early phase, was that it became a great place to see what the news was going on in the news.
And then at some point after Musk took over, he started messing with everything. He removed previews from links for a while.
The picture.
And then deprioritized linking, and then just continuously drove away the people who made the platform worth visiting.
Well, the thing about a marketplace of ideas is that you want to make the ideas really hard to find.
Yes. Still searching for those ideas. So Meta has also made it clear that they also deprioritize news in particular. So apps like BlueSky are all too happy to swoop in and make things a bit more even-handed. And the results are already promising, with an editor at The Guardian claiming that they're seeing more traffic from BlueSky than Threads or X, despite BlueSky having a substantially smaller user base at the moment. Still, that doesn't mean the Democrats are ready to give up on X, because they are still, despite everything that we've witnessed in recent months and years, concerned with appearances and making sure that there can be healthy debate from both sides, where people meet in familiar territory to intelligently discuss their differences in a way that's meaningful and benefits everyone.
That has never happened.
I know.
Never once in history.
That's what's so frustrating about all of these takes in these articles about how, you know, the left and Democrats really need to stay on Twitter and continue putting up the good fight.
No one's mind has ever been changed in the replies to a Twitter post. I'm sorry.
And also, I am under no obligation to stay on any social media site.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I spend like 5 minutes on BlueSky, and I get the same enjoyment I used to get from like 20 minutes on Twitter. Like it's a much more efficient use of my time. I see more of what I want to see, less of what I don't want to see. I opened up Twitter on accident today, and they're just spamming everyone with this fucking like Cyber Monday fucking premium
Last
sale.
chance to get the same deal we've been offering for months because we're desperate for money.
Pops up like unprompted like every couple minutes. It's awful.
Yeah, turns out this is just the free market choosing where to interact with people.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean it like that when I said the free market. No. There can only
when
be,
people leave my site, it's a crime.
The thing about the marketplace of ideas is there's only one marketplace of ideas,
and it's X.com.
The ideas in the marketplace of ideas cannot be ideas about other marketplaces of ideas.
Now look, obviously I still do all my banking on X, but I'm just not going to post there.
Yeah, I send all my payments through there, and anytime I have a question about anything, I'm sure to run that shit by Grok.
Yeah, make sure that Grok, hey Grok, can you refinance my auto loan? That's what I always say to him. Now posting, no way, no thanks.
Grok, I just got this cease and desist from the Gibson Guitar Company. Can you type up a response saying I'm not going to do what they said to do? Thank you, Grok. Anyway, recently there's been quite a few posts and articles about how a migration to BlueSky is admitting defeat or disengaging from a vital connection to your fellow citizens. But why should we or any politician stay on a platform that's that toxic?
Who cares?
Where the discussion about anything political has devolved into a pointless shouting match and a waste of time for anyone involved, it's less fun.
And for politicians, it's like, okay, why am I here if I'm just getting yelled at?
Yeah. I mean, AOC has like become a pretty. I think she still uses both platforms. She posts a lot on BlueSky, and I mean, clearly, out of all the politicians, I feel like she's really enjoying because when she posts anything on X, her replies are just horrific. Yeah. When she posts on BlueSky, I mean,
it's just
there's
better for your mental
discussion
health
down there, but it's not the same. It's not just pure bile.
The one tactic I've seen, it's like, okay, Bernie Sanders is still posting on X, and he is directly.
He doesn't own a phone. He's not doing any of that shit.
Yeah, but he's calling out the ideas that he agrees with on Musk to put the pressure on to actually somehow follow through with it.
I agree with Elon Musk. We should cut the Pentagon budget in half.
He's working. He's working at a certain angle.
He's
like Musk seriously wants to do this, so all of his supporters should agree with him, right? Everyone.
Yeah, he's doing a fun angle to the DOGE idea of like, oh well, like if you're talking about making cuts, I've got a few ideas.
Yeah.
Anyways, Democrats are somehow convinced that people need to stay on X and fight the good fight, even though everyone who has grown up alongside the internet knows that social media platforms are fleeting. They come and they go. Twitter had
a good 15 years.
Great run.
Yeah.
Well, mostly great.
Yeah.
But, you know, all things must pass.
Yeah.
People will migrate to whatever platforms are currently the place to be, and it's always been that way.
Yep.
No one's on Friendster anymore.
No.
No one's on MySpace anymore. No one's live journaling. Are they? Actually, I don't know. Maybe they are. But no one under any circumstances should tell someone they are bad for leaving X or that they're giving up on a fight or something by joining a different social media platform.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, you're talking to a bunch of people who successfully ditched platforms like Facebook and MySpace without looking back.
Yeah.
Been through this. No one stayed back on MySpace to debate their political rivals in the marketplace of idea. No, why is everyone leaving the site? Also, that site was bought by fucking News Corp.
They bought it, and then I think they sold it like 2 years later after losing 90% of the value.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic internet tale. So, yeah, you don't owe a platform anything. So when you see dumb articles like the recent one in Politico, it's fine to roll your eyes, especially when there's quotes like this where they spoke to a Biden administration official. Quitting X might feel good for a time, said the source, comparing it to quitting the gym. But ultimately, it can lead to painful outcomes.
Are you saying that Twitter is like the gym for your mind?
You're working
for your rhetorical skills?
I mean, my brain's definitely working overtime when I'm on Twitter, but it's not on the
touch grass. Go outside.
Yeah. Continues. You can't disengage, said the source, if you're losing the popular vote. About Musk being in charge? Sure, they said. I find it annoying, but this is the playing field. Those are the terms. We don't really have an option to just whine about.
That's so fucking Democrat. That is like they should
dismissive.
That's their slogan. Just like, listen, those are the rules.
Those are the rules.
Sorry, our hands are tied.
And by the way, we have to play by the rules. We always have. And by the way, the other party, they're going to also abide by those rules.
This is so. I mean, the funniest thing about
and
this,
also you're bad for not participating.
The funniest thing about all this is that at no point in its history, and especially not now, has Twitter been close to #1 in terms of active users in the United States or the world. It is not a place that your average person spends any time on. They're acting like this is where the news of the day gets discussed, and it's like, yeah, for some people, a lot of people, definitely not the majority of people.
Your grandparents are on Facebook looking at AI-created pictures of Jesus changing tires and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus saw a stranded motorist, and he said, not on my watch.
Does it be like when Dig fucked up their algorithm and everyone went to Reddit? Like, no, we have to stay on Dig. Guys, no. We have to stay on Dig.
Yes.
We have to
Barack
upload
Obama
and download.
is on Dig. Please.
Yeah, but like, no. Why is it anyone's responsibility to attempt to reach people who will just reply with an AI-created deepfake porn of them or a threat of violence?
That's what happens over on X.
It's not fun.
No.
Meanwhile, Twitter or X hasn't even been around for very long. I think there are other ways to have these discussions, or maybe they shouldn't have waited until it was completely broken to figure out that social media is important. I don't know.
Yeah, getting started on this race right at the finish line. Great.
But yeah, BlueSky, I'm liking it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
follow us on BlueSky.
The thing I like most about it is that even though on Twitter I only ever use the chronological timeline, not everyone uses that. So you inevitably get fucking rage bait put in front of you from other people who are like dunking, even if it's them, even if the person sharing it to the timeline, you agree with them, they're mad. They're mad, and they're like, you should get mad about this too. And there's just atrocious vibes.
Those guys' vibes have been pretty good. And I love that when you block someone,